aloha, and welcome back, intergalactic, multidimensional friends, shifters, light guardians, dreamers within the dream. Thank you so much for joining in. My name is Mystic Spider-Man Brendon Wolfshield, and you are about to listen to another one of our inspirational Synergy Circle Free Flow Conscious Discussion live team podcast extravaganza. Woo! So as we get started here, just a huge shout out. Thank you everyone so much for joining in. Please do me a favor and drop an 1111 in the comments as we get ready to move into this, and I'll explain a little bit more about what it is that we're going to be doing here tonight. But before we do that, of course, I am joined once again by some fellow amazing shifters, some fellow amazing conscious co-creators. So fellow conscious co-creators, join me in gently unmuting your microphones and making some noise, sending some love to all the amazing people who are tuned into this broadcast. So we love you guys. Thank you so much for joining. Beautiful. Awesome. All right. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. You guys can just gently mute your microphones and we'll get into the discussion literally within the next couple moments. And before we do that, we'll do a little bit of a meditation. I'll give it like a little bit of an introduction for those of you who may be new. For those of you who are tuned in on TikTok and Instagram, go ahead, click the link in my profile to join in on YouTube. That way so you can see the entire broadcast. If you're watching this at the beginning and the audio is a little bit out of sync, our apologies ahead of time. We'll fix that as the broadcast goes. But nonetheless, thank you so much everyone for joining, and let me just kind of like paint the picture of what it is that we're doing here. First of all, what are we doing here? We're coming together and we're having fun. Like, this is something that I really enjoy being able to do as a community. I personally look forward to it. It's something really, really close to my heart, and I'm really excited to be able to have so many new people joining in on what it is that we are doing and creating here together as a team. So as a quick introduction, for those of you who may be even fairly new to this project, if it's your first time tuned in, either on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this in the future, go ahead, drop a 333 in the comments, and everybody else will just be like, welcome, new listener, friend. And so the bigger picture of what it is that we're doing, there is a collective shift in consciousness that is happening. There is awakening that is taking place within the hearts of each and every single one of us. We are beginning to understand more about this multidimensional reality and our place and our potential within it. And so the Paradigm Shift Central project, this is a project that I began 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago. And one of the aspects of it at the beginning was literally just being able to bring people together to practice having discussion about spirituality, consciousness, metaphysics, anything related to stuff that we usually didn't really get a chance to be able to practice talking about in mainstream culture, or things that they never even taught us about in school. And so as the project has continued to evolve, here we are today doing basically like a digital version of this same concept. And so what we're going to do within this broadcast, this is a free flow conscious discussion. We're going to start with a particular question, which I already have in mind, but I'm saving it because I want you guys to kind of like be able to reflect on it in the moment. I haven't told anybody about it right off the start. And what we're going to do, we're going to practice kind of like expressing ourselves, communicating our heart wisdom, sharing our inspiration, and just being in a place where we can practice kind of like seeing more of ourselves as a collective, supporting one another, and at the same time just reminding ourselves that this is essentially just practice. This is practice. We're just having fun, and here we are practicing listening and practicing sharing and learning and growing and expanding together. So as a global team of shifters, people who are actively helping assist with the shift in consciousness through acts of creativity and compassion, this is a powerful and wonderful and beautiful opportunity for us to just be able to come together, celebrate ourselves, celebrate the journey that we're on, and to be able to practice learning and having fun. So with that said, for those of you who again are brand new to this, click the links down below to make sure you're fully connected. Again, huge shout out to our Patreon supporters. You guys make these broadcasts possible. We're currently at 171 Patreon supporters, working towards our next milestone at 177. Shout out to our recent Patreon supporters, to Camilla, to Hana, to Donald, and to Sarah. So if you guys want to join on Patreon, you can find the link down below. And again, when you join on Patreon, you can also join as what we refer to as a leading member when you join at the $11 sliding scale or higher. And then you can join our private community space, which allows you to join our on-air broadcasts that we do here and now every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Lots of cool stuff. So thank you again, everyone, for your support in all forms. So with that said, just encouraging everybody to go ahead and share this broadcast, invite your friends, and we're going to drop into a quick little meditation, then we're going to get right into this discussion. So just inviting everybody here to gently close their eyes. And again, for those of you on TikTok, Instagram, click the link in my profile to tune in on YouTube. So for everybody here, just go ahead, take a moment. And let's just do a quick little meditation. So just close your eyes. You can put your hands on your chest, on your heart. And so to just be able to help set the intention of what it is, what we're going to be doing here, literally just for the next 2 hours, we're going to set a time cap of just 2 hours on this broadcast. And in this moment, just allowing you to imagine all of us sitting in a room together, sitting in a yoga studio, or maybe you want to imagine us like sitting out in a field, sitting out under the sun, whatever you choose. But just imagine all of us here in this sacred space, in this sacred circle, taking a moment to be able to look around and see the familiar faces, the old and new friends, the soul tribe, the family. And just take a moment here to be able to express gratitude and to be able to receive gratitude in return. And we're just going to take a moment here where I'm just going to stop talking, and I just invite you to practice breathing, gentle inhales, gentle exhales. And just allow yourself to just be in this moment, in this space of oneness. So just take a few breaths here and just allow yourself to be here now. So go ahead. Continuing to breathe here and just allowing you to carry this vibration, carry this gratitude with you, and allowing ourselves to move through this conversation with open hearts and open minds. And gently keeping this visual in your mind as we move through this entire broadcast, slowly open your eyes and return your awareness to the space around you. Beautiful. Awesome. All right. So again, thank you so much everyone for joining in. Back in the day when I began this project, again, like a big part of it physically was always like Friday nights. We would have our paradigm shift meetings and we would get together, and it was like every time it was just kind of like, where would the conversation go? We don't fully know. It's a chance for spirit to be able to practice expressing itself. And that's what we're going to do here tonight. And so what we're going to do, we're going to start off with one question, and then we're just going to kind of practice kind of like allowing the fractal to unfold, as I like to say. So the thing that I want to be able to start off tonight's discussion with, I really want to be able to practice kind of like cultivating this art of being able to share inspiration. And so when we're talking about the spiritual journey, there's a lot of different angles to be able to look at it from. And a lot of people who may be even new to the spiritual journey, with so much information at times, it can kind of feel a little bit overwhelming, a little bit daunting, and that's understandable. But I think it's really important to be able to practice focusing on what are the most exciting things about the spiritual journey that we personally have already begun experiencing. And so for the first question that I want to be able to practice going around the group with is literally just to be able to practice sharing from our heart what have been some of the most exciting things about your spiritual journey. And so not necessarily like super specific stories, but more kind of like general things. Again, you know, just like, and I'll practice, I'll begin, I'll literally just kind of practice. And then from there, you guys can just kind of like raise your hand and let me know who to be able to pass the talking stick to next. But again, you know, I think it's really, really magical just to be able to acknowledge how incredibly beautiful this sacred journey is. And yes, there are the challenges, there are the unexpected, there's the twists and the turns. But within this, there is this ongoing story, and there's this constant like gift that is just pouring itself out to you each and every single day when you're kind of in that space to be able to see it from that perspective. So I'll practice answering first, and I haven't really like thought this out, which is exactly the intention of this, just to be able to practice having this discussion. So for me, some of the most exciting things about my spiritual awakening or my spiritual journey, so to speak, I would say has been in being able to practice the art of creation, being able to practice this art of kind of like feeling an inspiration or like having a vision or having a direct experience, and then finding a way to be able to crystallize it into this reality, to be able to take like what was once kind of like something literally just within my own mind and then materialize it in a way that I can literally share it with other people, and share it in a way that would help them be able to like feel something that I felt, or to be able to think something that I thought. And so for me, one of the most exciting things about the spiritual journey has been in just kind of like this process of being able to allow people to be able to understand that they too are creators, simply through us kind of leading the way through our own personal creation. So that's one thing that I would say has been incredibly exciting for me. And the other things I'll just kind of mention real quick, without diving too deep into it now, because we'll pass the talking stick, have been some of the most exciting things for me was when I first started realizing that synchronicity was a thing. When I first started like really realizing back when I was younger, and I was like, what the frick? Like 1111, what the frick? 222, like what's going on here? Like, is it like, am I in the Matrix? Like, this is kind of weird. Like, I'm kind of piecing it together and stuff like that. But then at the same time, for me, it was like I felt like I was kind of like in a mystery movie. Like I felt like there was like, I was like investigating things. There was something more for me to discover. And so for me, the synchronicity was kind of like the first stepping stone, which I know it is for a lot of people, to understanding that there's kind of us here within this physical, right here and right now, in this physical body. But then there's the bigger us, the us that is the oversoul, the higher conscious, and it communicates to us through symbols, through things like, dreams, through things such as like inspiration and ideas. So the other things I'll just mention real quick without going into the details, dreams have been an incredibly exciting thing for me, and also psychedelic experiences have been an incredibly exciting thing for me. And again, we can talk more about this as we go, but I want to hear from each and every single one of you. But again, no pressure. You guys can skip, you guys can pass, you guys can just sit back and relax, whatever works for you. And again, for each of you in the chat, please feel free. What has been some of the most exciting things about your journey, your spiritual journey? And again, so part of the intention behind us sharing this, I want to imagine that there's people who are tuning into this broadcast who may be kind of new to the spiritual journey. And when they hear us talking about this, they're like, oh, whoa, okay, cool. Like, this actually gives me something to look forward to. This actually gives me something to kind of like begin seeing as a possibility on the horizon. So with that said, give me a hand, give me a finger, give me some spirit fingers in the air for whoever wants to be able to jump in first. And again, this is really just practice. So we'll pass it over to Kris, and then we'll keep an eye open for the next person. So Kris, go ahead, passing it over to you, dude. Thank you so much for joining in. And when you're ready, the talking stick is in your hands. Go right ahead, Kris.
Yeah, thank you so much, for having me tonight. Like I was, yeah, it's always a pleasure to be a part of, these broadcasts and everything. So like thinking about, like your question and just like specifically also how you phrased it, like, with like the most exciting thing like about your spiritual journey, like I was just talking to my friend today just about how like I feel like I'm at this stage in my journey where it's like I'm just feeling so much of this excitement and almost riding this wave of excitement because it's kind of like this idea where like I have had so many of these things that I have wanted to share, and it's kind of like so much of it is just kind of like overflowing out of me because I've like held it back for so long. And I think that like a lot of us can relate to that idea of kind of like discovering a lot of things. There's these different kind of like phases I feel like of life that we go through. Like maybe we're in a discovery like state or phase, like where we're just kind of like learning about things, and then it's kind of like we go into expression, and like that even relates to numerology. So like when you were talking about the idea of synchronicities and stuff like that, like with numerology, it's like 3 is the number of expression. So it's like I think that a while back I was like learning that this year for me is like my year of expression, and it honestly helped to empower me just to like kind of step into that, because like I really feel like I'm like starting to just express a lot of these things that have been within me for so long. So that whole idea of being so excited to share, it's kind of like by joining spaces like this and by creating like these spaces for like conversation and just like reflecting off of one another has really been so beneficial and helpful for me, and so exciting because it's just like these conversation spaces where I can finally like really open up and share a lot of these things and practice communicating a lot of these things that have come up for me. And I think that like that's something that you always focus on in these broadcasts, is like stressing the idea that this is all just practice. And it's kind of like we can come into these circles and kind of be like a little afraid to share and stuff like that, but the more that we kind of realize that it's this like supportive container and this supportive group space, and outside of just the calls itself, being a part of the just being a part of the paradigm shift central community, and like like waking up in the morning and writing like my intentions and gratitude, like it's really helped to just like keep me excited about spirituality and keep me excited about my growth, because it's like we all are mirrors, and it's kind of like being able to reflect off of other people that you can relate to is so exciting. And it's just like yeah, like like always like kind of coming back to that, and like I feel like we can get a little bit off center sometimes, but like, it is these synchronicities and it is these connections that we have with others and that we make with the universe around us that really reminds us that, we're not alone, and that, like, this is such a beautiful and like wonderful and magical life and existence. So yeah, that's all I had to share to start out, because yeah, I was just so excited to share as I'm in a very excitable just kind of state of my life right now where I'm really expressing and sharing a lot. So yeah, happy to be here and love all of you.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you, Kris. All right, we'll keep passing the talk and stick around. And as we go here, just to be able to, we'll just kind of, I'll let you guys know if you're talking, and I'll just kind of like wiggle my fingers if you guys are over 5 minutes. And then that way, like, I'm not going to say stop talking, but that way, so we can just make sure that we're going through, because we do have a lot of people here. And again, we're going to keep this broadcast within a 2-hour time range. But absolutely, just kind of echoing on Kris, I'll just say something like real quick. I agree. Like this moment right now, like these last 3 months have actually been incredibly exciting. There is a lot that is happening. There are so many people who are starting to wake up, and it's really calling a lot of us into our purpose, where again, you look at TikTok as kind of a microcosm of the macrocosm, and there's so many people who are creating conscious content and sharing their heart wisdom and sharing, the bigger pictures and everything like that. No one's telling them to do this, right? Like, we're literally just doing this because it's something within our heart that we feel to be important. And so I think this is where us being here right now is so exciting, because it feels like it's kind of like again, it's kind of like a movie happening, where it's like the heroes are coming together and we're rising and we're stepping into our purpose, and it's so beautiful to see. So meeting each and every single one of you and having us come together and seeing that soul tribe and that soul family reunite is undeniably one of the most exciting things from my perspective. We'll pass it to the next person. Go ahead, you can give me hands up. Kristen? Okay, we'll pass it over to you next. So Kristen, go right ahead when you're ready.
Oh, hi guys. Sorry. It's so good to be here with you all. I always love sharing space with you. It's one of my favorite parts of the day. I think for me, my spiritual journey has been, man, there's been a lot of really awesome things that have happened, but I definitely agree the synchronicities for me has been just crazy. I mean, sometimes it's honestly, sometimes it puts me into just this state of laughter. I can't even explain it. I'll be like, all right, Kristen, you have to stop laughing because the universe is going to start thinking you're crazy. But anyways, it's just kind of fun to be able to really be able to put your thoughts and intentions out there and really be able to see it come back to you, tenfold. I know that a lot of my life growing up, I always thought like, yeah, if you do good things for other people, they should do good things for you, right? But it's not always been that way. But I will say lately, it does seem to feel like the shift is changing and it's turning into more, positive actions are rewarded with positive actions, and it's really great. And of course, being able to connect with people that are just on the same level spiritually, mentally, interested in growing and learning and being kind to each other. It's a very special place to be. Love you guys.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you, Kristen. All right, we'll keep passing again. I'm not gonna always add in like my thoughts every time, that way so we can just go through everyone. So go ahead, everyone, whoever wants to jump in next, let me know. You can just put your hands up, or else I'll just pass it to Natasha. Like, I don't know, she's let me know, whoever, somebody wants to volunteer. Otherwise, it's gonna be Natasha. Is it Natasha? Looks like it's Natasha. sorry, Natasha.
No, it's cool.
Go for it. You cool? Okay.
Yeah, Ashley was raising her hand. That's what I was pointing to, but it's totally cool. I'll go. Hi, this is definitely out of my comfort zone, so I forced myself here. Happy to be here. Sending everyone virtual hugs through the screen. And just a heads up that I gotta go at 9, so if you see me disappear, that's why. But the most exciting thing for me on the spiritual journey has to be healing for me. Especially during quarantine, it's been like spiritual awakening round 2 for me, and I feel like I'm so much more open to it now. Like, just the crying, the rage, the all of it. Like, I'm just totally open. Like, there's no resistance. I'm like, yes, I'm crying. Good. It's not like this scary thing. I don't know. It's scary, but at the same time, not. If that makes sense. Um, so yeah, that's just been. I don't know. It's been phenomenal. Like, I just feel like a new person, honestly, am so happy to be here with all of you. That's all.
Awesome, sweet. Thank you, Natasha, for joining. And again, quick reminder for everybody here: we'll include the show notes for all the creators here, so that if you guys want to connect with their social medias after, absolutely, you'll be able to do that. And again, for any of the creators here, just spam the chat with your links. Just spam it. I don't care. That's all right. Okay. And with that said, we'll pass it over to the next person. So whoever wants to go with, we'll pass the talking stick over to you. So just looking, whoever wants to go next, just go ahead and put your hand up. Morphic. All right. Okay, cool. We'll pass it over to Morphic. Awesome. Go ahead, Morphic. Thank you so much for joining. When you're ready.
Oh, heart beating. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
All good.
Okay. So, unity consciousness. It's still scaring the hell out of me, but at the same time, it's a beautiful experience. I mean, to go from, okay, I'm, it's me against the world, to, oh shit, I have shift. I have an army of people that actually want to just spread love and literally just raise the vibration and just make this world a better place. Like, and it's a mixture of cautious, but at the same time, like, it's teaching me to really open up more and not hide myself, not hide what I'm capable of, because it's teaching me that being myself is actually healing other people, which is crazy to fathom, but at the same time, it's happening. And I mean, I don't have nothing else to say other than that, but I'm just really glad that, this journey has led me to this community, and that, I'm surrounded by people who think like me and just want to spread as much love as I do. And I'm just blessed. We're all blessed. And I love you guys, and I thank you guys for all that you do, and I just hope that you don't give up and just continue to do what you do.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you, Morphic, so much for joining. And yeah, like, huge props just on everybody just for showing up. And again, I'm like, honestly, like, just being able to see each and every single one of you, like, just continuing to do what you do, it really, it makes me proud. Like, it's kind of like something that, like, I'm not always like fully verbally expressing, but like, seeing you guys do your thing makes me proud. Like, it really, really does. And again, and I think, like, that in itself is one of the most exciting things, is seeing each and every single one of us step into our power. But kind of going off what Morphic was saying, and somebody go ahead, raise your hand for whoever wants to go next, just so I can pass it to you in a second. We'll pass it to Erika. Again, I think one of the most exciting things is this idea of what Morphic was saying, like, finding other like-hearted and like-minded people, because I think at some point there was a part in all of our journeys where we were just like, am I the only one who thinks like this? Like, am I crazy? Like, what's going on here? Because according to everybody else, I'm crazy, so maybe I'm crazy, and stuff like that. And you kind of live this way, and it kind of gets like, it wears and tears at you and everything like that. But then suddenly you synchronistically run into someone, or you see a video on the internet, and you're just like, whoa, like, they're saying things that I'm thinking. Like, okay, like, I'm actually, like, starting to kind of, and again, it kind of opens up into a bigger story that I think a lot of people are experiencing right now. That's when, again, we're observing this. A lot of people are going through this shift right now, and they're finding content on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and broadcasts like this, and they're like, okay, I have found the others, finding the others, so to speak. That's Terrence McKenna specifically says that. He's like, find the others, right? Because that is exactly an incredible part of the journey. And as we do that, we literally become beacons, and we naturally kind of like attract and gravitate. And I think just knowing that by us kind of following our heart song, we will find each other. The synchronicities are like on our side. So that's an incredibly exciting thing. All right, we'll pass it over to Erika, and then from there, we'll pass it over to whoever else wants to jump in. So, Erika, pass it over to you. When you're ready, go right ahead.
Hi, everybody. Hi. just want to let you know about the background. It's the virtual background. There's a bunch you can choose from in the Zoom software. It was kind of a fun thing to do, I thought. I'm super nervous. Excited to be here. Uh, uh, I wanted to say I'm a music creator, and I've noticed in the music community, like in SoundCloud, a huge explosion in creativity. It's been incredible to see. Um, and my work is changing in quality. My whole life is changing. I can feel it transforming from the inside out, and I'm able to express myself in ways that I haven't in the past. And it's just phenomenal to see and to witness other people going through the same sorts of situations. It's beautiful. So it's great. So I think that's all I want to say. Happy to be here.
Awesome, sweet. Thank you, Erika.
You're welcome.
Beautiful. Absolutely. And yeah, again, like that's I think we're all witnessing it, this natural boom of creativity, this like resurgence of something that's inside of our heart. And now we got the technology and the tools and the media and everything like that, so like pouring forth this creativity into this realm is super powerful. Yeah,
we are the media. We are the media. We're creating it together.
Totally. Yeah. And again, like one of the things that I'm naturally excited about is, again, kind of like this concept of storytelling. So it's like, what story are we telling? And so, I've been kind of like framing this story for a while, this story of a global team of shifters coming together and everything like that. And now it's like, it's really like we are here. Like it has been happening in the years leading up to it. But now it's like, again, it's getting to the point where a lot of us who are kind of starting to see things from the spiritual perspective, we're actually becoming the mainstream. Like it's starting to happening, like, because again, even with the things that are happening right now, like again, like with the rallies and the protests and stuff like that, the people who are there, they might not necessarily like be like totally a yogi or anything like that, but I guarantee you every single person is really just kind of like connecting with the deeper wisdom within inside their heart, and naturally starting to realize like how interconnected they are to nature and reality in the world around them. So absolutely, one of the most exciting things is literally seeing the illusion of separation dissolving before our very eyes and seeing other people waking up to it. So it's pretty exciting. Awesome. All right, we'll keep passing around. Thank you again, Erika. So we can pass it. We got Silo, and we also have Hana. So whoever would like to be able to jump in next, you guys can just put your hand up, and we'll pass it over to one of you next. So we'll pass over to Silo. Okay, all right, we'll pass over to Silo. So Silo, one of our newer Patreon supporters, leading members, thank you so much for being here, dude. Go ahead.
Yes, you're welcome. It's great to be here. I've been watching you for a long time, and it's exciting to be involved. One thing that I really love, I actually love everything that everybody says, and it's been really great to hear all of your opinions and see all of your smiles. But one thing that I really love is the adventure, because when I was growing up, I considered myself spiritual and I did all these things, but there was still something missing, and I'm like, I just need adventure in my life. So going on like these crazy adventures, when you said we can't share stories, I was like, because I have so many great stories. But just being able to like go on like a spiritual pilgrimage, or like an adventure where you don't know where you're going to end up. You just have like a plan to go to these mountains because you feel your spirit pulling you towards that. And actually getting into that and doing it, it's almost like you're in a video game, because all these synchronicities, like you guys have been talking about, start to happen. You meet all these wild characters that you normally wouldn't have met. Some of them you're like, wow, I wouldn't have expected them to be as insightful as they were. And just like all the amazing experiences that happen when you open your heart, you open your mind, and you allow the universe and source to kind of guide you on your mission. I think that's something that's just so exciting and so enjoyable, because life can get boring. It can get really tough. It can not be fun. It could be really terrible. So I think when you start to open up to everything that really exists out there and being able to put into practice law of attraction, all these things that you learn on your spiritual awakening, um, it just makes life so much more enjoyable, so much more fulfilling, and way more adventurous. Just really putting yourself into a movie in a way.
Beautiful, man. Awesome. And within that movie, we are our own hero. We are within our own hero's journey, right? So yeah. Do you want to echo anything off that? I mean, I know you're kind of into the mythos behind that as well. So
yeah, the hero story is something so amazing. That's part of why I love some of the games so much, like Fable and these games where you make decisions and it kind of changes the game based off what you decide. Like you can decide, because we have free will on this on this world. We can decide to be in flow with the universe and to follow along the game and to do the things that we know and feel are true and right to us. But also we can do the things exact opposite of that. Like it's wild because we can experience as much suffering or as much joy as we want in this world.
Totally, man. Yeah, like that's and again, I just talking on that is definitely a way to be able to branch into a lot more topics, just in kind of like this lesson of being able to develop a deeper relationship between our heart and being able to like develop like a spiritual maturity and this discernment that will allow us to kind of like navigate things with more grace and ease, and the lessons that we learn. So yeah, that's awesome. Selo, thank you so much for adding your presence and your voice here, dude. Happy to have you here, man. So awesome. All right, okay, we'll keep going around, and then again, once we've kind of gone through the circle once, we'll just kind of again let the conversation kind of like move into a natural shift into wherever it's called to. Hana, we'll pass it over to you. Is that cool? Yep. All right, okay, so Hana, passing it over to you. Hana, thank you so much for joining, one of our newer Patreon supporters, leading members. Thank you so much. Welcome, and go right ahead, Hana, when you're ready.
Hi guys. First time. Sorry for my cat. He's somehow very attracted to this conversation, which is probably not surprising.
Perfect.
But he's literally sitting like right next to me, and he's like, "What
he's
are you doing?"
Watching us.
Yeah, he's literally watching. He's like, "I need to be involved in this." So. Anyway, so yeah, I was kind of always spiritual. And I think, as everyone has kind of said, now is kind of like this weird energy that's just like vibing across everything. And I think that's how I found this group. Like I just found it, and it just was one of those things. And I always felt that kind of interconnectivity between people. And I have like this weird telepathic thing with my mom, even though she lives halfway across the world. Like she thinks about calling me, and I call her, and she's like, "I was just thinking about calling you." And I'm like, "Yeah." So I've kind of always believed that we're all connected, and we can, to some extent, kind of affect each other quite strongly. Like I have this thing which I call my voodoo, but I say I really want a parking spot in this space. Like I'm going to this busy space and I really want a parking spot, and I just manifest a parking spot, and my friends absolutely hate it because every time we go somewhere, like on a Saturday, the busiest like it can be, and I literally get a parking spot right in front of the entrance, and they're like, "What? How do you do this?" And I'm like, "I just manifest it. I just say someone else will believe, and I'll get my parking spot." So that's been kind of my experience of spirituality, and I think I'm still learning a lot, and I'm still kind of at the beginning of it, really kind of that awakening to it. But that's why I'm so happy that I met this group and met all of you guys, and I can kind of continue that journey with you. So I'm really excited.
Awesome. Sweet. Hana, happy to be able to have you here, and your cat. What's your cat's name?
So I have two cats. One is Captain America and one is Daredevil. It was actually their names from the shelter, and I didn't change them because I thought that was kind of
that makes
awesome.
Sense. Yeah.
So I have two cats, and they'll probably weave in and out. So
perfect. Awesome. The more company, the better. So sweet. That's right, everyone. Bring your pets to the broadcast if you got them. So Cool. All right, Hannah, thank you so much for joining. And I think, yeah, okay. So I think Ashley, I think if you're good, we'll pass it over to you next. And then again, we'll just kind of see where the conversation unfolds. So Ashley, what have been some of the most exciting things about your spiritual journey so far? Top 5 at the least, whatever you want to share. Go for it, Ashley.
Hey crew. Just something that comes to the top of my head is basically having the freedom and the ability to figure it out on your own, and that kind of becomes a skill that you hone in terms of developing your intuition and being able to tune on your body, that duality of heaven and earth. And for me, it's kind of like, yeah, like how you're talking about creativity. It's a playground, truly. um, and being able to connect with different aspects in new different ways, being able to feel the earth and the emotions, being able to connect with guides, and like Natasha said, the healing aspect is incredible. Being able to find different ways to heal trauma. I love holistic modalities specifically, and being able to shift your perspective and view your human experience in a different way. And I think the best thing is like there's no rules. Like, of course, there's fundamental aspects and kind of like laws of energy of the universe, but there's no spiritual handbook that says you must do this. There's many subgroups of spirituality that we can be drawn to, but it's so vast that we get to choose for ourselves. And I know for myself, I've ventured through many different subgroups, um, from the Pleiadians and the super celestial realms, but now I'm super like earthy and developing more the relationship with my body and finding my spirituality through that way. But just like the universe, spirituality is incredibly vast, incredibly expansive, and the depth to it is kind of beyond comprehension, which makes it magical and exciting. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely agree there. And I think just kind of riffing off that, and we'll just kind of merge things into wherever the conversation flows. Yeah, like for me, and I mean, because I mean, I think we can still just kind of like continue to explore here and just kind of like geek out on all the things that we get excited about here, because I know it's pretty deep. But yeah, like literally seeing the magic within the world around us has been one of the most exciting things. Like I remember for me, one of the most exciting things was like literally understanding as above so below, like the axiom, like understanding sacred geometry. Like I remember when I first started hearing about sacred geometry, and then it was like almost like, I don't know, yeah, I felt like I was in a video game. Like I felt like I'm gonna go out into the woods and like find sacred geometry. It was like I was like finding like, you know, like hidden treasure or Pokemon or something like that. And I'm like, oh, there it is, like it's everywhere. And you just like, the most exciting thing I think is kind of like reigniting a spark within your heart that allows you to see the world through the lens of awe. You know, I think that in itself has been one of the most exciting things that again, you know, as more people kind of awaken to their spirituality, that's what I hope for them, right? Like that's what I hope, because obviously we can even talk about this, you know, because I was kind of feeling called. I'm like, oh well, you know, like what is spirituality, right? Like how are we defining spirituality? And so if anybody kind of wants to riff on that, please feel free to go ahead, because there's no kind of like, again, there's no set itinerary as it is right now. So if you guys feel like you got something that you want to be able to bring to the circle as we're just kind of moving forward from here, please by all means, and just put your hand up as we go. So if anybody wants to like jump in next, just put your hand up and we'll just kind of go. But in the meantime, I'll just kind of keep talking until someone puts their hand up. But again, you know, like I think one of the most exciting things has been from moving from that point of like reading something from a book to experiencing it directly. You know, it's like well, like I've watched videos about chakras or I've read books about chakras. Well, I mean, technically back then, back in the day, like no one was making videos about chakras and stuff like that. You know, this would have been like back in like 2006 or something like that. But then to begin to deepen a practice and to be able to approach the Gnostic wisdom, the knowledge through direct experience, that for me has always been what I feel to be one of the most exciting things. It's like, yeah, you know, you can tell me about lucid dreaming, you can tell me about the chakras, you can tell me about synchronicity, you can tell me about psychedelics, but like, let me experience it. Let me like download this into my reality. And then again, you know, through this process of interacting, one of the most exciting things is to be able to witness your own transformation. And I think, again, you know, that is what spirituality is a lot about. It's about literally transformation. It's about ongoing transformation. And it's also about conscious transformation. And I think literally just kind of like what makes us different is that this is an interesting concept and it might be new to you. Whereas like, and CeeLo mentioned this, you know, like we have free will, and maybe, you know, maybe that's the discussion there. Do you guys think we have free will? But I feel that yes, we do have free will, and the reason, and it's not so much if we have free will, it's the question I'm more interested in is why do we have free will? Why do we have free will? And so if you think about comparison to the other kingdoms, and what I mean by kingdoms, basically like the mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, and the human kingdom. When you look at the other kingdoms, they don't necessarily have free will quite in the same way. They're kind of like moving along and they're kind of like responding just based on biology and things like that. In this process, simply by being what they are, they will naturally evolve their consciousness. They will naturally kind of like, if you were to think, consciousness would move from like one kingdom to the next, to the next, to the next. Like just kind of theoretically, let's just say, you know, like it starts off as mineral and then eventually it becomes plant and then eventually it becomes animal and then it eventually becomes human. But the reason why we have free will is because in order to be able to move to the next kingdom, and this is a question, what is the next kingdom beyond human, right? And this is where you start getting into this idea of like proto-human, you know, like homo luminous is a term. And that's exactly what it is that we're experiencing right now. But whereas in the previous kingdoms, normally it would just be something where due to the lack of free will, the evolution would just happen as a circumstance of time. You know, the more time you're there, the more you would naturally evolve. But for humans, rather than us like accidentally evolving, we literally have to will our evolution. Our evolution comes with a conscious choice. It comes with a conscious decision. It has to involve us showing up. And so this is where I think for the human journey, it's incredibly interesting because again, at any point, we literally have this opportunity to just like drop things, just let things go. And I think when you start hearing about this bigger, again, you know, one of the most exciting things going back to this theme, we'll just kind of keep tying it back to there, is this idea of like literally understanding that you are more than your physical body, literally understanding you are a soul. I remember for me, that was one of the most exciting things, to not just hear that as a theory, but to actually able to deeply understand it and to feel it, right? To really feel it. Feeling is such an important part of the spiritual journey, and to really feel this idea of like, yo, like, I can feel something inside of me that said, like, before I came here to Earth, this is what I was going to try to accomplish, you know? And so one of the most exciting things is actually understanding that each and every single one of us as a soul, theoretically, this is more so just an idea, literally made an agreement with this body. Like our soul made an agreement with this body. And it was like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z within this lifetime, or I'm going to try to do this, right? And that's the thing, is that our free will is basically the variable that will determine whether or not we may or may not actually accomplish everything that we set out to do, that we've created within this agreement with our soul. And you hear about a lot of this with near-death experiences. People will have near-death experiences and they'll kind of go to this room where there's like a review and they'll be like, well, like, here's what you said you were going to do, but you haven't done it yet. Do you want to go back? Like, do you still want to do it? And then the soul, like, you know, relative to the person would be like, yes. Like, please, like, I'm not, I have to finish this. Although another soul might be like, no, that's okay. I'll just do it next lifetime, so to speak. But again, and even just this is an interesting idea. I'm just kind of thinking a couple things on the top of my head and passing the talking stick to whoever wants it. So put your hand up, or else I'll just keep babbling on here. But what I was going to say is that, like, within our journey, it's like we've actually made an agreement with our higher self to make sure that we get woken up at a certain point, you know? It's like, you know, and that's what will happen. People will kind of like go through this phase within their life, and you know, and it's kind of like this thing where it's like if I like, you almost like say this to the universe. It's like, if I haven't woken up by the time I'm like 21, make sure I wake up. Like, universe, source, God, whatever, make sure I wake up. If I don't wake up, even just by my own will, make sure I wake up. And then that's when you start getting like this kind of like karmic energy. That's where you'll get sometimes, again, a near-death experience and stuff like this. And people will literally say that, you know, it's the near-death experience that actually wakes them up. You know, and within this like hyperdelic psychedelic experience, they connect with this deeper part of their soul, and they're like, holy shit, I remember what I came here to do, and now I'm gonna like really bring my energy towards doing that. And again, I think for a lot of us, it's a common story. It's a common story for what we are here to do. You know, we are here to help facilitate these new energies, to bring more love and light into the world, as cliche as that sounds, to be storytellers, to be creators. But again, it goes deeper and more specific for everyone. Passing it over to Silo, and again, just kind of like riffing off here, whatever you guys feel you want to go on. But again, you know, I think there's just going back to my main thing, free will. The why of why we have free will is because in order for us to evolve from where we are as regular humans to proto-humans, Homo luminous, the humans, and what I mean by that is like, same vessel, more activation, same vessel, more awareness, and more of our activated like spiritual superpowers. And more of this interconnected psychic ability, astral projection, lucid dreaming, creative potential, meditation, mindfulness, more of that. Like, so we literally right now, we are literally the vanguards within like the evolution of human consciousness. And that's not saying it from like an egoic place. That's just like, yo, it's happening. It's happening. But it's only happening as a result of us willing it to happen. CeeLo, I'll pass it over to you, dude. Go right ahead. And anybody else, just put your hand up and we'll jump right in.
Thanks. I really appreciate what you're saying. And you know, like we have these decisions as we come into incarnate on Earth, but one thing that's really fascinating about Earth is like, it's you come in, you incarnate, and instantly just forget, for most people at least, instantly forget everything you were here to do. So it's kind of like this interesting game where you go through and you have to do this thing, but you don't know what you're supposed to do, and the universe is just giving you all these little clues along the way. And the secret is you have to open your eyes to be able to see these clues in order to act upon them, in order to remember, oh yes, that's what I was here to do in the first place. And then that's where the, you know, real fun comes, is okay, now I'm awake, I know what I'm supposed to do. It's one thing to know what you're supposed to do, and it's another to do that thing you're supposed to do. And I don't know, that maybe is part of the difficulty setting we turn on when, you know, we decide to come here. Is like, okay, I'm going to go through all this trauma, I'm going to have all these blockages because I want to strengthen this area of my soul. And personally, I just see us all as the universe individually experiencing itself, and the universe just wants to learn. It wants to expand and grow and encapsulate all the possibilities. So being able to forget and procrastinate and not accomplish your mission, I guess, is one thing. And I had a friend who actually, him and I were supposed to go to Hawaii, and we had all these synchronicities about it, and we knew that we were supposed to go there. And so I actually ended up going and had these really profound experiences, these profound insights. And he had the worst, you know, experience of his life, and it really took him off track of his mission. And I don't know why that was. Maybe he just had to experience some difficulty in order to gain more clarity on something so that he could move forward. But that's just part of the fun. So, you know, we're all learning and doing the best we can.
Absolutely. And I would definitely say that even within that context, one of the most exciting things is understanding that like our role within this is like to be students of the cosmos, and to actively know that the universe, the reality around us, is like here to teach us. That for me was one of the most exciting things, where it's like, whoa, like, you know, opposed to kind of like this almost atheist perspective of everything just randomly happening without a reason. Instead, it's kind of like more moving us into this place where it's like, whoa, like the universe is actually like secretly supporting me from behind the scenes, and am I paying attention? Because I think one of the most exciting things about the journey is being able to understand that like we have the choice to be able to meet the universe halfway. And then whereas in the past, I think this is kind of what comes with spiritual maturity. In the past, I'm sure we could all realize this, you know, a lesson that we might have had to experience, it might have taken us like months to go through. Now, as we start to evolve and we're paying attention, we could theoretically like go through it literally like in an afternoon or something like that, if we're really kind of like on that level. So yeah, kind of knowing that like the universe is here to support us, and when we kind of are open to that, things really kind of start to move and accelerate. The synchronicities increase. Like things are moving pretty fast these days. I don't know if it feels like that way for you guys, but CeeLo, thank you, dude. Appreciate it, man. All right, anybody else? Go ahead. You guys can jump right in. Kris, I'll pass it over to you when you're ready. And
Yeah, so I mean, like, I have a lot of things came up that I wanted to touch upon, but like, I guess just kind of starting with like what you were kind of like alluding to, like at the end, just like, you know, like in the idea that it's kind of like, I feel like in these times today, like, you know, it really is kind of like we can step into kind of these fast tracks, or just kind of like, you know, like to the ascension process, or really just like, you know, it's this idea though in of itself though that it's like we can kind of have the realization that, you know, like it's kind of like we create so much separation between like us already being there by like treating it like it's like by comparing ourselves to like other people and their journeys that they've been through, and like, you know, coming to consciousness and coming to recognize like all that we are. Like if we just like accept that, and we actually don't have like so much resistance to it, you know, like it's kind of like the idea where like if we really align with that, and we like, you know, give up a lot of those limiting beliefs, and we give up a lot of those things that are causing like all those blockages, and we start to release those things, and we really like, you know, can clear ourselves like out, then it's kind of like, I just feel like in a way, yeah, like it's kind of like we can very much so like come online where it's like we're not like treating it like it's something that needs to be found, but it's something that, well, I don't know, it's hard to say that, but it's just that it's like, you know, that we're already there, and a lot of times we're like seeking or searching something that like we already are, you know. So I guess it's kind of that concept that like a lot of the times we want to be like kind of we can prolong things by wanting to take like a route, and the universe by wanting to take like a longer route, and the universe is like, all right, like we'll let you kind of explore that route and like take that, and then like, you know, at the end of that journey we realize that maybe we like, you know, like we're already there the whole time, and we really didn't even need to travel there. But I don't know, I'm gonna obviously open it up for other people to talk and stuff, but I just wanted to also touch upon a couple of the things that you were talking about before, though, just in the idea that, you know, like of why do we have free will, and like, you know, in you were talking about, you know, in order to evolve. I wanted to bring up like, you know, I feel like just the idea of like, you know, what Carl Jung talked about. Like I love him so much, I'm always bringing up some of his work, but he you know, just because he was so inspiring to me, but some of his work was talking about like the process of individuation. And you know, like it's interesting like how like I feel like, you know, like that's thrown around because it's this idea that, yeah, we're coming to this collective unity consciousness, but at the same time it's like this personal recognition of it. And I think that like within the idea of free will, it's this idea that like, you know, like the world around us is governed by like natural law, and like, you know, it's kind of like all of nature is kind of like, you know, like moving according with like the cycles of nature, and it's kind of like already within that sync, you know. But it's like us, like we kind of need to choose to be within the synchronicities, you know. It's kind of like all of life is like, you know, unfolding naturally, as you would say. And you know, like our life can be like full unfolding naturally too, but it's kind of like this idea that like we need to individually come to that kind of conclusion. And it reminds me of like, you know, like within the tarot cards that I use, it's like there's one of the cards and it talks about like, you know, the idea of being like a hive mind kind of species, and this hive mind mentality. And it's like when you look at the past and you look at kind of how we've evolved from kind of being within this tribalism and being kind of like governed by this group think, you know, like now it's like it's a lot of this like thinking more for ourselves, where it's not so much like just governed by like being with the group. And also the idea though too that what I believe personally is that like, you know, when we talk about higher consciousness being within the past, we talk about like, like those beings maybe being like more intelligent or more like advanced, like a lot of the times, like I feel like it's because they were just more naturally tapped into the world around them, in the sense that it was more like, um like there wasn't that kind of like split between the brain, in the idea that it's kind of like, now it's like we have decided to go to this point of ultimate separation where we want to define everything instead of just living within the realm of direct experience and not needing to name everything. So it's like now we've literally moved into quantifying everything within quantum physics. I know that I'm going to stop talking in a second, but I just always have so much to say. But it's like we want to quantify and logically explain everything now. And that's not that it's a bad thing, but it's kind of like as we move into that, it's kind of more of this actual conscious realization of what we're participating in, and not just being a part of it, where we were just kind of intrinsically woven into it in the past. And now it's kind of more of this, like, we can see outside of that interwovenness, whereas in the past we may have just been kind of more so unconsciously participating in everything, and like, being so connected to nature. But now it's like we actually have more of this choice now because of the separation and the duality that has like intensified. And that's like the pressure, I feel like, of spirituality. Is it's kind of like, why are so many people coming online now? It's because literally the world is like in this state of kind of like, where it's like we've reached a lot of this point of like ultimate separation and emptiness, and there's been like a need for spirituality where it's like, it's needed to resurface in order to kind of like come full circle, if you will. So that's all I have to say about it. I know I went on for a while.
That's awesome, Kris. I appreciate it, man. All right, cool. I'll anybody else who's like ready to jump in, you guys can go ahead and just kind of let me know, put your hands up, and we'll pass a talking stick over to whoever wants to jump in if there's something that you guys felt called to share. But again, like I'll just kind of babble here for a second, but you guys can jump in. And aloha, Sarah. Just wanted to say hello to you. Thank you so much for joining, Sarah. And Sarah, we were sharing earlier, I'm not sure if you heard, just about what the most exciting part of our spiritual journey has been so far. So Sarah, if you want to jump in on that question, you're welcome to. So Sarah, we can pass the talking stick over to you if you're ready to jump in, and you can just kind of like add your voice and
hey.
Perfect, go right ahead. So awesome, welcome, Sarah. So yeah, if you want to, we were kind of asking again the question of like, what has been the most exciting part of our spiritual journeys within our awakening so far? If you want to practice communicating anything on that idea, feel free.
Well, I'm kind of only 3 months into it, but I can't really pinpoint one thing because it's all been so exciting. And I say that because like, I literally have not been excited about anything for almost 10 years now. I'm 26. Oh my God. My dog is like freaking out. Pluto, stop. Sorry.
No worries.
But yeah, oh my God, don't eat my fruit. Stop. So I don't know. I guess the most exciting is finding a community that actually makes sense. If you know what I mean. Like I'm sorry, this is just gonna be babbling because I don't have a lot of like in-depth knowledge yet. But
it's all practice, so that's what we're
cool. But yeah, I have never met so many people that I can genuinely connect with, and not just like, fake it, like, oh yeah, small talk, whatever. Like, no, like it's actually people that only are spreading love and kindness to everyone. And I grew up in a Christian home where I'm not like, all good, whatever religion you have. But my home was very much like, you either love Jesus or you're going to hell. And I was like, what the, like, that's, it just didn't feel right to me. Like, what creator or source would do something so mean? Like, you're gonna burn for eternity. What the, like, I just did not want to believe that. So I spent a long time with Kris. You were talking about like the emptiness, like filling a type of void, and for me that's what happened. I immediately like it was during a Reiki session that I woke up because the practitioner told me it's okay to shed your skin. It's okay. Just be a snake. Shed your skin. Your cells will regenerate. And I was like, wait, what? You can do that? I don't have to identify with my past. What do you mean? That's who I am. And she was like, nah, just like, you got it. Just keep going. And I was like, I say like way too much. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Thanks for sharing the space.
That's awesome, sweet. I honestly like being able to just like hear you kind of share from your perspective is really meaningful, because again we were kind of talking about this earlier, where it's just like, yeah, you know, like we're at this really exciting time right now where a lot of people are literally, yeah, just maybe like 3-4 months in to kind of like this stage of their spiritual awakening, and literally just hearing from you the idea that just what it means to be able to find other people. Because again, you know, I think for me, some of the most exciting moments of my awakening and my journey have been like just like those intimate moments of really being able to connect with another person's heart. And I really use the term intimate, like beyond any sort of like sensual, sexual or anything like that, because I think we need to start thinking about what it means to really be like intimate with each other simply through like a shared presence, you know, like really just kind of like listening and like really just kind of like sharing something deep within our heart, you know, like the same type of intimate that you can get if you're like sitting under the stars with your friends and you're just talking about life. You know, those type of moments for me have always been some of the most exciting moments. And yeah, it's really exciting to just know that so many people out there are again just kind of like as Sarah was saying, the fact that you're excited about this, you're excited about kind of like this spiritual journey, even though it may be a little bit overwhelming, and the idea where it's just like, there's so much to learn, I don't know what the frick I'm supposed to do, but I'm here to learn and stuff like that. It is really exciting. And I think again, you know, just being able to approach it with that open heart and that open mind, and knowing that other people are kind of bringing their own perspectives. And even as Ashley was saying before, like there isn't like one particular way. And I think one of the most exciting things about the spiritual journey is the fact that the most important perspective is your perspective. It's your journey of connecting the dots, of like seeing the bigger picture, and then like, you know, kind of learning from others, and literally understanding, you know, that this for me was a big awakening, a big step within my journey, was literally to be able to understand that like every other person was a teacher for you if you were paying attention, and not even just people, but like circumstances and nature and everything like that. That for me was a really big thing. So yeah, well, let's just keep passing it around. I'm not sure if there's like something that kind of like sparked and stuff like that. Hannah, I'll pass it over to you, and go right ahead. We'll just let the conversation flow wherever. So Hannah, when you're ready, go for it.
Yeah, it was just something you said about like conversations under the stars that are meaningful kind of conversations. And it just kind of triggered so many memories that I have of conversations like that, even as a kid, sleeping on top of an RV under the stars in Utah. Like, is just, you know, like vibing with my cousin, and just like, I don't know why, but that just kind of, that memory came in really clear. And I think it's important to kind of acknowledge just how much the nature affects us. And like, I, you know, live in BC in Canada now, and it's just like the forests here, like I was part of the meditation this morning, the forests here are magical. They are absolutely magical. They're like moss covered, huge trees, like absolutely amazing. Like if you want to imagine a beautiful forest, look up like British Columbia rainforest. They're absolutely amazing. So I'm so privileged to be able to go to these places, actually not just, you know, in my mind and spiritually, but actually like connect with those places. And literally after this morning, I just wanted to go for a walk into the forest and hug a tree. Yeah, anyway, I just that kind of connected kind of the importance of nature and connecting with nature. And I think that's a big problem today in our society. We're so removed from it, and you know, all of our you know, houses, and just in the big apartment buildings, when you're up in the sky, you know, and you have no connection to the earth. I find that it's so important for people to kind of get that connection back to earth. And I think that's kind of what's happening now. When everyone was stuck in their houses, they're kind of realizing like, oh no, I need the nature, I need to go out, I need to be connected to the earth, and just, you know, walking barefoot in the grass and just feeling kind of that connection for me is I'm very much connected kind of to the earth and stuff. So I find it so grounding, and I think that's kind of what people are realizing now during this time of, you know, kind of being not able to go out and not being able to be in nature and being stuck in, you know, our apartments or houses or whatever they are. But I think it's kind of showing us that we kind of need to get back into the nature, and even kind of, you know, the break that nature got in a way by all of us being stuck inside, you know, the canals in Venice being finally clean and all of that. And we kind of realize that how much of an impact we actually have on nature. And I think that's also kind of awakening everything in all of us of like, no, I do have an effect on nature and I have to kind of nurture it. And I think that's kind of something that for me has really been kind of at the forefront recently, has been the like, no, nature first of all needs us, but we also need nature, and we really need to connect back into that. And I think it's such a thing that's missing in our society. So I hope that the world is kind of realizing that's what we need, and we're going to kind of get back to that. Sorry, that was a kind of long rant, but
that was great. No, that was awesome. It was from the heart. That's exactly what we're here to do. And again, I just like love the fact that you're just like hyping up the earth while literally you still got like the earth background and everything like that behind you. It's just like, I love the earth, yeah. So
yeah, exactly.
No, that's awesome.
I like the background that Erika had, and I was like, you know, it is true. Like it's the earth. And you know, even the fact that the SpaceX thing just happened, right? Like during this time, I don't know how much of you guys were kind of involved in that, but the fact that it went up and we saw the earth again, right? Like how long has it been since we have seen kind of that like active going up and seeing the earth? I know there's a couple of like flat earthers that decided no, the earth isn't flat after seeing the, you know, SpaceX footage. But I kind of think that during this time it kind of connected us all again to like, no, we're a unit, like we are earth. And I think it's kind of important to kind of look outside of ourselves as like, oh, I'm a Czech Rus, or I'm a Canadian, or I'm whatever, and we're a unit together. And I think seeing kind of earth from space, for me at least, is kind of this thing like, no, we are a global thing, we are, you know, one with each other and the universe and the rest. So that's just another rant.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah, like we literally are like one part of one big organism, one big team or something like that. So that's awesome. Sweet. Thank you, Hana. All right, we'll pass it to, I think Christopher wanted to go in, and just one thing I was going to say real quick is like, again, you know, some of the most exciting things that I'm really just like feeling, and you know, I'm just like really just want to be able to mention it just as a part of like the bigger picture and everything like that. For me, one of the most exciting things is, again, like each and every single one of us realizing our potential that we have within this bigger story. You know, like again, kind of we were saying, like us just kind of hearing the call of what is needed right now, of us being able to reconnect with nature, reconnect with our heart, just expand our mind, get our feet down into the earth and everything like that. Like we have this ability where literally just by us creating that connection within our own reality is helping lead the way for others to be able to begin doing it too. And then again, you know, just be able to like holding space. And it's like the next 4 years are gonna be so trippy and beautiful and just like amazing in its own way. And again, I just remind each and every single one of us that like we all have a part to play within the story. Like we all have like a way to be able to implement our will to be able to help like change and shift. And again, if you change one person's world, you change their world, and if you change their world, you change the world. So Christopher, I'll pass it over to you and go right ahead, dude.
Talking about me? Okay. I was just saying that healing all the trauma is huge, and Earth has been through so much. One big thing about everything that's happening is I've seen the pollution go down a whole lot in different countries, and even in New York City, it's gone down dramatically. So being able to be here now and witness the earth being healed is so exciting. And it's one thing that I've, been really praying for a lot, because, the earth has been through a lot and needs a lot of healing as well.
Absolutely. Totally, man. Wonderful. All right. Okay. We'll just keep bouncing around. If anybody else wants to jump in, we're kind of Kris. Yeah. We'll pass it over to you. Go for it, Kris.
Oh yeah. I just wanted to jump in really quickly. Yeah. I just wanted to say, like, like jumping off of what you were saying, like, like I just said it in the YouTube chat, like, like just the fact that we are all here right now, like the fact that we are all here together, is not by accident, and that it's meant to be. And like I feel like a lot of times we could be like looking for meaning and stuff like that, and like kind of like um like we're talking about finding the others and stuff like that, and it's just like the fact that we're all coming together, and like yeah, it's such an exciting time, like absolutely, because like I think that what's so interesting about that too is just like the fact that it's like I feel like spirituality has been treated like something like it's been in the background, but now it's kind of like it's actually coming to the forefront, and it's like so actually like amazing to be kind of part of that shift in consciousness into like like for it to really be coming into the light. And it's like we're all coming into the light too, like, and it's like that's what has initiated and has brought so many people into the light, like including myself, like it's just reflecting upon some of the things that I touched upon before, but it's like um within my own personal journey and like my own personal myth that I'm adding to this collectively unfolding myth, like that we're all a part of it. It's like like in the hero's journey, like you're talking about, like it's like we all have like our own personal hero's journey that we're literally kind of like adding to this larger like cosmic story, like if you want to call it. But like, and that's the thing, we all perceive the cosmic unfolding like differently, and like we all place ourselves differently within that, but at the same time it's like we all are contributing to this larger unfolding. And it's so helpful, I feel like, to be using like be looking to myth and like placing ourselves within these like archetypal roles, and being able to like see ourselves within the role of the hero, like, and within these like different movies and stuff too, or within, as Christopher was talking about too, like within these games, within Fable, or like within the game like Skyrim and stuff like that, like just like seeing like we play these games and we get so much enjoyment from it. And it's like when we can kind of translate some of that to like how we're showing up in the actual world, like and to like kind of take on these roles, and to bring some of that energy to it and excitement into spirituality. Like it's so exciting, because it's not something anymore that's just like, oh, you're learning about it, but it's like we're all being kind of called into action, and being called online, and being called to be aligned. And like I'm always someone who's like always finding a lot of the phonetics of everything, and really thinking about that a lot. But it's like we're coming like online, and we're coming to be like aligned, and being like alive, and it's like we can like think about all these words together, but it's like the truth, like if we were feeling dead inside, like we may no longer be feeling that way, because we are finally feeling enlivened with spirit. And like it's like that is literally taking on taking up our cross, or really like playing our role, and fulfilling our missions here. And it's so beautiful to be coming online with so many beautiful other souls, and literally online right now too. Like
yeah. Totally, man. Awesome, beautiful, well said, Kris. I dig it. Couple things that came to mind, and I want to set this up, and I actually want to like kind of like pass the stick over to Ashley specifically, just because like I know there's like some stuff that I've heard her talk about in some of her videos. Not to put her on the spot, but one of the things that, again, like where we are right now, like spirituality is literally needed. Like it is needed right now, because if you look at the alternative, again, like the old paradigms, the paradigms that are shifting, the old paradigms, like they, in retrospect, are like quite depressing. But again, what I'm interested here is the fact that like depression in itself isn't necessarily this like negative thing. Depression in itself is a messenger. It's trying to tell us something. It's saying like, hey, like this isn't working. This isn't going to serve us. This isn't healthy. But it's also the invitation for us to be able to change. And so I think that's where, again, this new kind of like mindset of spirituality, connecting with nature, meditation, everything like that, not only has it kind of become like a necessity, but I mean, for a lot of people, again, it's their free will. They can stay in the old paradigm, but if they do, it's going to be like, it's going to feel like very heavy and kind of like very just kind of like overwhelming at times like that. So I mean, we need to have those alternatives. But anyways, if Ashley, if you don't mind, I was just gonna like pass over to you, because I'm curious to just kind of think, you know, like from your perspective, like why is spirituality needed right now, even just kind of like in comparison to where we are coming from, or just anything else you kind of feel called to add relative to where we are at. Go ahead, Ashley. Yeah.
I think there's a duality between, one, just the natural raising consciousness, and these, however, there's many different labels for it, whether you want to call it like light codes or energy or just external sources that are also helping to propel humanity to kind of, you know, whatever's in the stars, helping to shift us, expand this consciousness. But on the other end of that, it's also, I think, at the tipping point where we've strayed so far from ourselves that it's triggering this reawakening within globally. You know, we kind of touched on individually what can trigger that awakening for us spiritually, and I just think that's happening on a collective level, that there's so much distension between who we are and the reality, that it's stirring the pot, and it's one, creating chaos, which we see a lot in the world right now, that's just revealing the earth's shadow, which is needed to come back to wholeness and come back to balance. Yeah, and what you're saying about, you know, depression and depression is like a common thing, and that's not how things should be, and it's not how they always have been. And that, and alone, the fact that 12 to 18-year-olds are the greatest group who are prescribed on antidepressants, that alone should tell you something in this world is not right. Yes, this may be our reality, but that doesn't mean oops, battery, that doesn't mean that that is our true reality. And again, tying it back to what you're saying, that's why nature, meditation, and all these things we do to connect to the external elements as well as within ourselves and higher selves, that is so needed right now. And I wanted to mention in that is, what I've noticed is there's this kind of triangular formation where, like, when we connect to nature, we also connect to our body, and we also connect to our ancestors, and each of those aspects fuel one another and they strengthen one another. And I think that's so important, because for me, the way I look at it is, when we do that, we're activating these primal codes within us that are in our DNA. Like, our society is here today, just like healing on an individual level isn't linear, you know, sometimes you're going back in that shadow. Same is such for the collective consciousness. Like, we are at a place where we're technologically advanced, but not so much spiritually and with connection. But I believe at one point we were, like Atlantis and people in Lemuria and things like that, people may connect to. And like, that's in our DNA, and that's what happens when we connect to the earth and we connect to our ancestors. We help to reawaken that, because Mother Earth also holds the energy, the blessings, the lessons of the world within herself, being her own entity. So yes, love Mother Earth, love her so much, and she is very, very integral to our awakening, as well as awakening that divine feminine energy with us, which we need for wholeness, which we need to bridge the gap and fully kickstart the raising consciousness for all.
Awesome. Sweet. Thank you so much, Ashley. Wonderfully said. And I can tell you're getting a lot of hype from the audience there. Morphic was like literally off her chair, just like Morphic, did you want to just like literally in the moment just tell us like why you're so excited? If you want, you don't have to. It's totally up to you. Just let us know when you want to jump in.
She's saying
Yeah.
To the T. So I'm like, I don't think I really need to explain anything. She just did it kind of for me and for us. So it's like we're on point.
Word. Awesome. Sweet. Thank you, Morphic, as well. Thank you, Ashley, again. Again, I'll just say something here, and then again, somebody just put their hand up, and I'll pass it to you in a second. I think one of the most exciting things is realizing how incredibly supported we are on like a multidimensional spiritual level. And I think that in itself is a big part of the story, because again, kind of like, and you guys want to see in the video, I talked about this, like this shift from like 3D to 5D, and kind of like, what does this mean? What are we talking about here? Again, I like to basically, I'll explain it real quick because I did it in a 1-minute video. 3D would be kind of like seeing things from the ground level, and from that ground level, from a relative perspective, it appears as if things are separate. You see two objects, they look separate. But then if you go up top, almost like you're in an airplane, in the same way your perspective expands when you're higher up, when you look at things from the top of a mountain, and suddenly you look at things and suddenly it's not just like one tree, two tree, it's like the forest is one big thing. It's one big thing. So you begin to realize the interconnectedness, the unifying field, relatively speaking. And I know just like a side point, some people would be like, well, what about 4D? Like what's the deal? Like, are we skipping 4D and stuff like that? This is where it gets a little bit complicated, but if anything, I would say like, this is where the definition has to get a little bit deeper. 3D would be more kind of like the association we create with like our physical body. 4D would be more so the awareness that we cultivate with our mental body and our energetic body. And then 5D would be the other layer above that, which would be more kind of like the level of like the consciousness of our soul and like our non-temporal existence. So if you really like, that would almost be a separate video to be able to explain it that way. But again, what we're literally doing right now as a collective shift in consciousness, we are kind of like expanding our awareness to this idea that, literally embodying this understanding of what it means to be a multidimensional being. With it comes with it this deep understanding that, not only is time not quite what we think it is, but like there is a bigger story, and there is a team behind our back, and there is like, like spirits and guides and ancestors who are like literally tapped into us right here and now. It's that in itself, I think, is one of the most exciting things, is to understand that we carry our ancestors with us. And so with that, as we continue to, again, going back to what I was talking about, like what is needed right now is literally for us to consciously evolve, and for us to consciously evolve as, Homo luminous, which is like this a beautiful term. I love that term, opposed to just Homo sapien. Homo luminous, reference being more kind of the awareness of the light body aspects. Within this conscious evolution, it's also developing a deeper relationship between us and the support that is readily available, because I think the universe will always kind of have our back, and it does that, and it shows up through synchronicities, symbols, coinciding incidences. It shows up just kind of in dreams. It sprinkles things in here and there throughout all the years of our awakening. The universe was always there, kind of like looking over us like a little babysitter. But then as we begin to get older, when we realize, there would be like, oh my God, like, you've been here the entire time. And then the universe is just like, yes, I have. And then you're just like, well, what else can we do together? And the universe is like, oh, plenty, right? Like it's literally like kind of like this other part of yourself, and suddenly it opens up this conversation. And whereas it just kind of being something that just kind of happens as a result of circumstance and secondary action, it begins to evolve into a deeper relationship where you're like, okay, let's work on this together. Let's like work within the dream space. Let's kind of begin to kind of like really tap into the wisdom of the heart, and to bring that wisdom and to bring that knowledge forth. And I would say for me, again, one of the most important questions I always like to bring it back to as a team is for us to be able to practice reflecting on the idea of what is needed. What is needed right now for an individual level, for a collective level. And essentially, again, through this broadcast, I want everybody who's tuned into this to be able to get a clearer understanding of what is needed as we continue to take this inspiration beyond this individual broadcast and out with us into our daily lives. But one of the simplest things that I've said, and I'll just say it before, is what is needed is for us to be able to like connect back to the wisdom of the heart. And like, that is what we are doing. Like, literally, that is what we are doing. If I were to tell people, like, what do we have to do? It's like, oh, we have to like awaken their consciousness. And we're like, well, what the frick does that mean? Frick. I don't know. Like, like send them a YouTube video or something like that, be like, that's kind of complicated. That can be like, you know, like an essay's worth of work. But the simple answer is to be able to help lead people back to their heart. Because when you lead people, when you teach people how to be able to reconnect with their heart and lead back to their heart, the wisdom of the heart connects them to the everything else. It connects them to the shift in consciousness. So again, you know, like for me, just going back to like this kind of the most exciting thing is really just kind of like, really just like the story is expanding, and it's stuff that's like, you know, we talked a lot about in the last broadcast about UFOs and the shift in consciousness, and it got like really metaphysical and like multidimensional, and if you guys want to check that out, you can check that out. But it's really starting to get into this reality where it's like, okay, we know we're here, we're in the 3D and everything like that, but now suddenly like it's almost as if like I'm geeking out here, but it reminds me of like Super Smash Brothers, where it's like a new challenger has arrived, like a new character has arrived, and this new character is like the other dimensional aspects of our reality. There are ancestors from a non-temporal perspective. There are deeper soul, like there are past lives. There are the proto-dimensional beings that are existing maybe in the future who are helping us assist in our evolution right here and now. So I think when, just going back to off of what Ashley was saying and just kind of what I was saying originally, to really be able to understand that like we are so incredibly supported. And when we understand that that support is there, we can start really kind of begin collaborating with it. We can really begin to participate and really begin to kind of like work with it to be able to move things up and accelerate things. If anything, within this, you know, within this project, within the work that I do and within the community that I build, one of my objectives, and I'll just say this and somebody put their hand up so I can pass over to you right away when you're ready. One of the things that I've always thought of is like, okay, what am I trying to do here? What am I trying to do here with the work that I'm doing? Like, yeah, I'm making friends. Yeah, we're talking about ideas and stuff like that. My specific objective has been to assist and accelerate the shift in consciousness. And what I mean by that is by doing specific actions that will literally like move things forward a little bit more, a little bit quicker compared to if I didn't do anything. You know, so like even here, like what if I was just like, oh, well, you know, if I don't do this broadcast, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But the fact that we're doing this, the fact that I've been having these conversations and facilitating these in the community for the past 10 years and making videos, and all of us now, we're creating content, creating TikTok and, you know, like reading and learning things for ourselves. We are at this point where we have this potential to each and every single one of us wake up each day and to be able to think to ourselves, what can I do to be able to help accelerate the shift in consciousness a little bit more? Because at this point, not to put like a pressure on it, but time is an essence. Time is a variable. Time is something very important. And I think right now we don't necessarily, time is not necessarily a luxury quite in the same way where it's like, hey, do you guys want to go shift consciousness? And be like, yeah, maybe in like a couple months. I think I'm just gonna like lay low and binge watch some Netflix for a bit or something like that. It's like, no, right now, like for those who feel the call, like call to action, stand up. We are needed right here and now. The past years of all of us doing this, like it has gotten us ready so that now like we are here to do the work. And the other exciting thing is understand that the work is also the play. The work is also being able to move into that place where when we are doing the work, it is literally nothing less than us like fulfilling our destiny and being who we are here to be. And I think that's a really exciting thing. And I know a lot of you are kind of really feeling this where they're just like, whoa, like I didn't even imagine myself doing this and like, you know, like creating content or, you know, awakening my own heart and everything like that. But like now here I am. And I feel like I've like kind of like connected with like another level of myself. Like I feel myself leveling up, you know? It's just like, so the big part of the journey is like we literally get to like meet more of ourselves, you know? It's kind of like Link going through time and becoming the hero and kind of like moving through and then going into the dungeons. Anyways, spiritual geek stuff. But Selomon, I'll pass it over to you, dude, and go ahead, riff off of anything that I said. And just as a quick heads up for everybody here, we got probably maybe about like 35 minutes left in the discussion. So Selomon, go right ahead, dude.
Well, yeah, I want to just give advice to anybody who's getting started with whatever they're doing. I think a lot of us, myself included, when I first started, was I didn't feel like I was ready. I didn't feel like I had the right technology, or I didn't have like all this fancy stuff that I didn't need. I would say like just go for it. Even if you don't think you have the right technology, if you can make a video, do it on your phone, like do it however you can. It doesn't matter the quality. What matters is the authenticity, because the people will feel your authenticity, and nobody really gets bothered by how your video might be a little blurry or whatever. They don't care about that. Most people will feel the message. If you feel it, they'll feel that. So if you've been waiting for anything, if you can do it right now, do it right now, because it's better to do it and to look back and be like, well, that could have been better, than to not have done it at all.
Beautifully said, dude. Yeah, absolutely. Like I definitely echo that, because again, you know, like just by us doing these broadcasts, I want to be able to like really do what we can to nurture and spark the power of the creator, like the creator archetype within each and every single one of us, you know, the dreamer within the dream, crafting and creating. And again, literally, as I was talking about, one of the most exciting things is to like bring this like heart wisdom into the material world through the power of art and magic. You know, we are literally walking wizards, each and every single one of us, and through the power of media, through the power of content, we have the power to be able to like plant seeds, open heart, expand minds. And yeah, as I always say, right, like it's always practice. Just look at his practice. That crappy video you made to start off with, or whatever you did, again, it's like it's not crappy, because it was what it was, and it was a first step towards building up to something more. So one of the most important things within the spiritual journey is try not to compare. Try not to compare your journey to someone else's journey. I know that can often be a little bit daunting, where it's like, oh, this person looks like they got all their chakras aligned, and here I am still trying to like, you know, do all this and try to whatever, etc., etc. So again, just being able to understand and really like be gentle with yourself and honor yourself. But I do, because I was thinking about this, Kris, and even just kind of as we move into the later parts of into the later half of the broadcast, I'd love to just be able to invite everybody here to just kind of, you know, assuming there are people listening to this broadcast who may be quite new to spirituality, what advice would you give them? What would you say? What would you say to like a younger version of yourself theoretically? What can we share with people to just be able to help them kind of like, you know, simplify and ground things? And honestly, I'm really glad that a lot of people are joining these broadcasts, because I know even still, like I see it in my TikTok every now and then, where some people are just like, yo, like this is really overwhelming. This is kind of freaking me out and stuff like that. Like, you know, for those people, one of the most important things that I would recommend is being able to connect with community of other people who are already kind of like grounded and inspired in the midst of this chaos and story, whatever it is, right? So like for each of us here, like that power of being able to kind of meet within a single narrative, and this narrative is, you know, like this like awakening personally and collectively, and us rising into this archetype of shifters, light guardians, light workers, whatever we're calling ourselves, and to really be able to step into a place of purpose. And that purpose is, again, to be able to take care of ourselves, self-actualize, and then help assist others when the time is there. But I would say, you know, for those who are kind of like new to the path, finding community is so important, because when you're on your own, it's easy to just kind of be like, whatever, this is stupid, or I'm just going to go back into my old ways and everything like that. Having a community creates accountability. It creates space for you to learn. It creates space for you to feel safe and communicate, to again kind of like know that there are other people who share these common perceptions, and again for you to be able to just kind of like continue to explore things in a way that is natural to your soul, without needing to compare yourself to another. But we are here, like literally, I'll just say this, pass if someone wants to put their hand up. I haven't someone put their hand up for Kris, or maybe Ashley or Kris. We right now, like, we need each other. It is non-negotiable. We need each other. And the fact that we need each other is literally like a part of the story. Like, we can't do it on our own. Like, that is, you'll literally see this within your own individual narratives, where you'll kind of like get to a certain point, and then there's like something that you need to do, but in order to be able to like evolve beyond a certain point, you literally need interaction with someone else. You literally need to be, it's like, again, it's kind of like a video game where there's like two switches, one's over there, and you can't hit both at once. So you got to like invite your friend over to play like co-op with you, and then you hit the switches, and then you get to the next level. Like, that is where we are. We literally need to like come together to be able to serve and support. And in the process of us coming together, those of us who are kind of serving within those circles are actually coming to see more of ourselves. If we were to just do this solo, ago, we wouldn't actually see those other parts of ourselves that get to show up as those healers, as those facilitators, as those coaches, as those creators, so to speak. So Kris or Ashley, both of you had your hand up. Whoever wants to go first, just let me know. I think pass it over to Ashley. I think or Kris. Okay, someone just unmute their microphone and tell me what to do.
Yeah. She just said that I could go first, and I don't
know.
Okay,
good. Go ahead, Kris.
But anyway, going back to what you were saying, and like just the fact that like you were talking about, like always bringing it back to what is needed now, and kind of also like like the point that you just brought up about like like how can we kind of like share and offer like some advice for people I feel like who are just kind of like being introduced to spirituality in a lot of ways. And I think that's something that like like I'm finding out more and more every day. I mean, like there's something about like myself and just the person that I am. I think a lot of people can relate to this, is that like a lot of times we really do look outside of ourselves so much for these answers, and it really is kind of like having this understanding that like yes, like we can look outside of us, like to and use these different tools to help to guide us. But like something that's so important to remember is that like we also have this internal guidance system that like like knows what it is that we actually have to share. And this internal guidance system, like we can think about it too in the way of like it's just this like knowledge that is within us, like from past lifetimes. And it's like having that understanding that like all that is needed like is within us and without us too, like as a means of reflection. And what I wanted to just say like and touch upon briefly is that like, and it's like I know I'm talking about like simplifying stuff, but it's like it's interesting because this one tool that I use to like help like that is outside of myself, but it actually like helps to guide me, I feel like, back within myself as well. So it's like we can use these tools still that are outside of ourselves to bring us back to the heart and bring us back to like the wisdom of the heart that is here to guide us. And that's actually what the galactic energy signature is of today. So like I'm like very much so like attuned to that, and actually to increase your and so to increase the amount of synchronicities that you experience every day, like being able to actually like align yourself with, there's this whole really beautiful system. And I was like telling people about this in the Paradigm Shift Central group chat before this because I was so excited about it. But there's this whole system called like the Tzolk'in, and it was like developed by this guy named Jose Arugales, and it happened during this this thing called the harmonic convergence, which happened in like the 90s around like some point then. But it was like this huge gathering of like coming together, and it was like basically it was like derived off of the ancient Mayan system of time, and like understanding like the synchronic order of time. And so actually like with what you were talking about, and this is touching upon time, is that like there's actually like a natural timing frequency that governs like universal order, and that living in artificial time right now, it literally disconnects us both as a species and individually from our true nature. And that's why it's like we always feel like we never have enough time in this frequency and in this literally this calendar system that we use to navigate through this world, because like it's literally been created to basically like throw us off of natural time and the natural cycles. Like it basically like puts us in this idea of like it's like time equals money. But in the 1320 frequency, I'm reading from the website that I sent actually into the YouTube chat, and I'm not going to talk for that much longer, but it's this idea that time is art, and that this is like within the Tzolk'in or the harmonic matrix. So it's this idea though that like in the universal timing frequency, like the world is already as one, and it is not separate. And so like when we can actually tune into like the natural timing frequency, we can actually just see all of these synchronicities start to unfold. And I know I'm talking for a while, but it's just because I think I really feel called just to be sharing this, because literally the galactic signature for today is it's red electric dragon. And it literally like speaks to what you were talking about, Brendon. It says that dragon is the ancient one rising from the deep ocean. In the beginning there was the dragon. And it's not just what you were saying too, but touching upon what everyone was talking about. So it's like we're all kind of like in one way or another like churning out this information that is like tuned into synchronicity, and being able to see synchronicity as a part of an everyday reality, that it is like it's an ever-present reality for those who have the eyes to see it. So I'm not going to talk for that much longer, but I just wanted to say that like it says that In the beginning, there was the dragon. Dragon asked no questions. She knew exactly what she needed, what she was. She trusted life unconditionally. And basically it says, like, like this symbol knows the beginning of time from where we came and where we are going. It is the power of the primal mother who gives birth and lovingly nurses and cherishes her child. She grants you the gift of existence. Let the voice of your inner mother speak to decide what is good for you. So, like, I think that what this was guiding me to today was just the fact that a lot of the times I'm like looking outside of myself and maybe looking for all of this guidance. But, like, I think that this really calls us to tune into our internal guidance system and to tune back into Mother Nature, because we can get so caught up in trying to we compare ourselves to other people and looking at what other people are doing. But it's like this internal guidance system is within us, and it is the primal mother. It is that which birthed creation and all of like form. So it's like, we can tune into that, and we can use it through these different tools. But, it's always leading us back to the intuitive guidance system that we have within us, and it can help us navigate more effectively.
Awesome. Beautiful. Well said, Kris. And thank you again for sharing the links for that. For those of you who are curious, check the team chat. You can see more information on the what's the proper term for it? Like it's the like kind of like the Mayan calendar is the
yeah, it's like called like the Tzolk'in, like TZ.
Yeah.
Like, and it's this whole like harmonic module, for like understanding.
It's
like
super cool though.
There's like a whole calendar that you can buy that like can help you become synchronized to it. And of course, like I'm a nerd in that way, so I'm like, I connected to that. But
yeah, I love I kind of love the idea that like so many of us, like we were like already like geeks and nerds to begin with, and now so like as we start getting into spirituality, it's like we start geeking out over all the spiritual stuff. You're like, oh, I'm gonna find out all about like the information about the chakras going back millions of years and everything like that, or just like all the meridians or any of the little details. But yeah, absolutely. I think again, one of our superpowers is in our ability to be able to connect to our intuition, which in tune does connect with our chakras as well. I've explained this real quick, and I'll pass over to Ashley. Where again, for those who might not have heard this before, like we literally, our chakras are like these energy portals that receive information from beyond the present moment, so to speak. So like it's almost like information from the future, like ripples through our chakras, and then we receive this as like data, sensation, and input, and then we can actually use that to be able to navigate this reality with more grace. So if we're in tune with our chakras will say like, hey, like go this way, or do this, or take care of that, or pay attention here. And then when we're in tune with that, it allows us to really be able to like show up for lessons in a more conscious way, and kind of like helps us kind of like expedite the process. At least that's from my experience. Anyways, Ashley, I'll pass it over to you. Whatever it is you want to share from before, and anything else, go right ahead.
I wanted to, well, first of all, but yeah, if it's the website I think you're talking about, you can like find your galactic signature, and the description is actually really accurate and really cool. But I also wanted to piggyback off of, I was really feeling in terms of being new to spirituality, the subject of looking toward external sources. And I think that's really important. And because when you're new to something, you just kind of, and you're excited about it, you want to dive full in, you want to learn as much as you can because you have the passion. But I wanted to say about being, in terms of teachers, being wary about fixating on someone, and just being conscious of whether you're looking to learn from someone, whether you're inspired by them and they're helping to guide you or mentor you, or whether you've kind of glorified them and put them on a pedestal over your own intuition. Because I connect with a lot of people. So many people have helped me on my journey, and some I've stuck with, some it just only served for a moment of time or a specific thing that was happening to me. It's just knowing, just always having that conscious kind of gauge of whether you're attaching to now everything that they say, because that can kind of lead to, more a dogmatic nature, which spirituality in its essence is allowing yourself to be the truest nature in which you experience, understand, and communicate with source, however you label it. And in that realm, just one more thing, again, like reading books and like all that thing is super fun, but I think it's also a super fun practice I've been doing lately. Like, say if you're into ceremony or spells, witchcraft, that thing, or even dreams, like it's so easy to want to like look up, okay, what do I do for this spell? Or if I dreamt of this thing, what does it mean? But being able to take a breath and see what comes to you first, see how you interpret that dream, or see if you can connect with meditation, or however you establish your own practices in being able to channel a ritual or a spell, a ceremony from yourself, instead of wanting just to jump the gun to read what's in a book. But again, of course, like getting to know like the foundation, and just challenging yourself, looking at different perspectives of spirituality, see what resonates with you or not. That's something how you can also kind of tune your own bodily sensations and kind of your heart's truth, like feel in your body when you connect to certain information. Like if it doesn't resonate, like how does that feel in your body? And if it does, if you do feel you really connect with that, how does that feel? And learning that skill as well.
Awesome. Very, very well said, Ashley, and incredibly important. I was actually, I'll just riff on this real quick and maybe even just pass it back. If there's more you want to respond on, or anybody else, just let me know. I was talking about this yesterday on the live broadcast yesterday, when I was just doing one of our chill spiritual team chats on TikTok, which I do every now and then. And yeah, I was literally saying, because there's a lot of people who are kind of pretty new to spirituality, and I was kind of I'm like, wow, like TikTok is really great right now. There's so many conscious creators and everything like that. But then at the same time, I'm like, wow, this is probably like a little overwhelming for the people who are just getting into spirituality. If there's like 50 different teachers that they're all trying to learn from. So I think, again, when I look back on kind of like how I was growing up, there was maybe, just like 4 or 5, like there's like Ram Dass and McKenna and like Bashar and like a couple others sprinkled in here and there, like the OG teachers or whatever back in the day. But absolutely, I think, again, for anybody who's kind of like new on this spiritual path, kind of with what Ashley was saying, it's important to know that, even whatever these people are sharing is still ultimately just going to be like from their perspective, and ultimately to be able to practice like using your discernment, using, not creating this relationship where it's like, oh, like I believe it because they told me, or or literally this idea. See, this is where it gets a little bit dangerous, where it's like, there's so much information that now a lot of people, like, everything that they know is literally coming from a YouTuber or a TikTok creator, and things like that. And it's kind of like almost in some ways doing people a disservice, because I think there's a lot of learning and opportunity for us to simply be able to grow just by interacting with the world around us, and to understand that we don't need necessarily these external situations, these external teachers, to be able to help us connect deeper with our spirituality. Again, they are guides, they are assistants. But yeah, for anybody here, just whether it be me, whether it be anybody who you're watching on TikTok and everything like that, always just take it as information and think for yourself. And then if it resonates with you, cool, go with it. If it doesn't, that's okay, right? And maybe your style is to kind of like pick a little bit from here and a little bit from there. But at some point, I think it's good to literally just put the phone down, step away from TikTok, and go back to your heart, and just go back and start paying attention a little bit more to the world around you, I would say. But yeah, I think being able to understand that there literally is this wisdom within our heart is incredibly important, because yeah, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, yeah, like I need the book, I need the movie, I need the this, I need the that, but it's already within you, and yeah, just be patient with that process. But yeah, and like and Ashley, I'm just kind of curious, like even with like Ashley, just kind of like with what like your TikTok has been doing quite well and everything like that, and as you've continued to grow and reaching new people and you're getting feedback, how has it kind of been feeling? Like, how's that experience been like for you? Like, for those of you who aren't yet, like, Ashley's on TikTok at Heart Logic Harmony on TikTok, and like your TikTok's kind of like blown up, and so here you've got like a lot of people that are paying attention to what you're saying. And this is kind of like what I'm getting at, because I feel like when we suddenly have like the attention of people, that means that we are also influencing them. And if we're influencing them and they're paying attention, that puts us in a place of responsibility where it's like, yo, like, okay, I got to make sure that what I'm telling them is important. And also at the same time, reminding them that this is not like a be all end all, and still like encouraging them to think for themselves. But I'm just kind of curious, actually, and then we'll pass it over to Christopher, what the experience has been like to you and like how you've actually kind of been like learning as a result of it, if you want to share anything. So.
Yeah, well, I find it beautiful first off to be able to create, there's so many subgroups in TikTok, and I'm so happy that there's a spiritual one there. And I feel it's been a very symbiotic relationship. I've had, some lately specifically a lot more of influx of questions, or people kind of like coming in with like big essays and life stories asking for advice, or just very nice sweet comments of like, you're my mentor and you're really helping me. And that for me, again, it's been very symbiotic because that fuels me. Of course it's great to like get a following and like, and have a bit of a larger one at that, but it's really like hearing how I'm helping people that is fueling my own heart. So like, I've had a couple of viral videos, and that was like cool for like a week, like in the end it's really just, yeah, being able to hear how I'm helping people, and it helps me. Hold on. It helps me to be able to feel my own voice further, because I was always someone who was incredibly quiet, incredibly silent. My heart still beats very, very fast anytime I want to say anything. My cheeks might get really red. But it's just a really good feeling to finally be able to break through your own false belief patterns of not being good enough, not having things to share, and sharing your greatest heart's truth and vulnerability with the world, and having that be so well received. So I feel super grateful, and I'm just gonna keep on sharing what I can with people.
Yeah. You're doing a great job of it, and again, I agree. I've said this before, like there's a big difference between popularity and success, and popularity is one thing, but I think at the end of the day, what we're seeking as creators is success, and the success is the relationships that we're creating between ourselves and the people who are paying attention. And again, knowing that what we're saying to them, knowing that what we're sharing with them is like creating a meaningful impact, is helping them see things in a new way, or is inspiring them, or is helping them feel this connection, or is giving them instructions on how to be able to help navigate things in a new way. So yeah, it's super, super cool. Sarah has her hand up, and then we'll kind of go around the circle again. I want to get close to kind of like closing thoughts. So again, if anybody else here, kind of like what advice do you want to be able to share for the people who may be kind of, new to the spiritual journey, or anything else you want to bring to the circle? And then we're going to close wrapping up. I think I said Christopher earlier, but I think it was Sarah's hand. I'm not sure if Kris had his hand up and put it down, but either way, we'll pass it over to Sarah. Sarah, go right ahead when you're ready.
Yeah. Just, well, first of all, everything y'all just said, like, is what I needed to hear right in this moment, because I, just like Ashley, what you said about the creators and putting them on a pedestal, I am such a big fixator of literally anything. Like, I can go from fixating on a TV show, and for a whole month I'll just be like hyping up that, and that's all I'll think about ever. And like, that's what I was, because I have an addict brain. Okay, I'm an addict, so everything I everything I do, I'm consciously like, wait, is this an addiction? Should I stop? Like, I'm so confused. And the spirituality thing came about from me being in rehab. Like, a few months ago, I was in rehab and I had a Reiki session, and that's how it came about. And so when I got home, I was like, kind of, it filled up my soul. Nothing else ever has, though. So that's one thing I was like, wait a second, this is like if there ever was such a thing, a good addiction, I don't know, but like yeah, what else was I gonna say? I have such a foggy brain sometimes. Oh, and Ashley, for the life of me, this whole time, I've been like seeing you on this thing. I was like, where do I know her from? Was she in like my college? Was she like at my high school? I'm so confused. And then I was like, oh, I've been following you on TikTok for a long time. But yeah, I know what I was gonna say. Today, I actually got the courage to put my spiritual journey on TikTok for the first time, because for like a long time I was like, I need to do it, but I don't know when. Like, should I put makeup on? What should I wear? Like, is it like this huge thing? And and I did have somewhere to go today, so I was like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna look good for me, and so I can feel good about stuff. Thank you. But and then when I posted it, I was speaking like straight up, like oh my God, babble, wow. I was speaking straight from my heart, and I immediately got like, okay, I have 69 followers right now, and I'm like, 69, really? Like, come on, universe. But I gained 20 within like 30 minutes just from that series, and I was like, okay, so like someone, I think either one of you were saying, speaking like intuition something, and it's about, not about popularity, it's about connecting to others. And I would like, so many people messaged me saying, I'm so glad I watched that, you gave me the like an idea to do it for myself. And I was like, wait, what? I am not a leader, what is going on? Like, and oh, another thing, my when someone mentioned Maya, I had a past life regression a couple weeks ago, and apparently I was a Mayan person. I was like a healer in the Mayan. I thought that was really cool. But that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I was just like, yeah, 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 cool.
Cool. Yeah.
Thanks.
No, that's awesome, man. And again, you know, for you, Sarah, congratulations on taking that first step and creating that content. You know, like that's like as much as it is like something where it's like, yeah, somebody else is gonna see this. At the same time, it's such an important step for you, where it's just like, okay, like, all right, I can make another one of these. And then you start, like, literally, that's what I've loved about TikTok, is that it kind of like, it changes, it gives you this channel to kind of focus your creativity, and you start thinking about things differently and be like, oh, like I could make this a TikTok, or oh, a little synchronicity pops up, I could make this a little video, or like, oh, what would I like to explain in 1 minute, and everything like that. So good for you, Sarah. I'm looking, and again, please feel free to share that into the team chat as well. That's obviously, again, what we're all about here, is supporting each other as creators, because again, sharing our stories is so important. And the reason for that is because we see each other through our stories. You know, your story doesn't have to be this like fully amazing edited masterpiece or anything like that. As long as it's from the heart, that's what people hear. You know, they notice that. That's what will make them stick around. And again, I think within the spiritual niche, like it's beautiful to see more and more people just kind of like within their own courage, within their own calling, to just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna put myself out there. And again, and I think it's because they're seeing everybody else doing it. They're like, hey, this looks like fun, I want to do this too. And again, as we do this, we literally just kind of like grow into more of who we are. So there's a leader inside each and every single one of us. But I think being a leader is kind of like different from how we once thought it was, because being a leader is literally you being your authentic self, and in you being your authentic self, you give other people permission to do the same. And that is, in a form, a way of leader. So it's like being a very like gentle leader, simply by just shining your own light. So Sarah, thank you again for joining in and for being a part of the team. So it's awesome. Beautiful. All right, team, let's kind of get close to just going around the circle one last time. So again, kind of like closing thoughts, or again, a little bit of like advice and input for the people who maybe tuned in, who may be kind of new to their journey. Anything else you guys want to share, or even just reflection on gratitude of what this circle means to you. Again, you know, like what have you gotten out of this? Anything else you want to share? So go ahead if somebody wants to jump in, and we'll pass the talking stick over to you guys. And I guess like a few of you have just recently talked, so okay, cool. All right, okay, maybe we're closer to the end of the broadcast than I thought, so that's totally cool too. Okay, we'll pass it over to Erika, and then again, anybody else, we'll pretty much just get into like closing thoughts at this point, and then we'll wrap it up. And I may be doing a live tarot broadcast tonight. I don't know. You guys will see. If you guys want me to do a live tarot broadcast tonight, I might do it. So Erika, passing it over to you. Go ahead. Oh, 1 second, Erika. Just make sure you're unmuted. And
yeah,
go right ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I joined the broadcast for sure. I'm so glad I'm here. I was just listening to everybody speak and like feeling the love and the energy. Like it's so tremendous. I'm like overwhelmed right now. I'm so happy to be here. So happy. Okay. I will mute now, I guess. So
awesome. Sweet.
I want to keep talking, but I don't know what else to say.
Did you want to? I mean, well, even just kind of going back to that question, like any advice for people who might be kind of like beginning the chapters of their spiritual journey, or something that you might have told yourself years back, if you could.
Patience is really important. Especially I think for younger people, developing patience and impulse control, like over and being able to observe your thinking, like what you talk about in the meditations, is to witness your thought processes, and to experience your inner life, but be able to bring it forth in creative ways. Morphic's nodding. Thank you.
Yeah.
It feels really nice to be understood. So really good. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I think very well said. Patience is absolutely one of the most important things. So yeah, we gotta,
for sure.
Again, like nature is a very patient thing, and we are nature, so we have to be patient like nature. It's something I like to remind ourselves of. So great message.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you, Erika.
You're welcome.
Hey Morphic, do you want to go next? Closing thoughts, gratitude. Yeah, I'll pass it over to you. Go for it.
Okay, so patience is something that I'm still working on, and I'm 30. So, but discernment above everything, at least for me. You have to think for yourself, do things for yourself, because at the end of the day, nobody, and excuse my language, nobody's gonna give a living fuck but you. And when you understand that, then people who feel the same will gravitate towards you. And that's how you're able to find your clique or your tribe or whatever you want to call it. So always pay attention to what fuels you, what feeds your soul, what makes you happy. So that when you crystallize that and you master it for yourself, you could imagine you're wrapping it like a little gift and you give it to others. So that's all I have to say.
Awesome. Sweet. Well said. Yeah, one of that reminds me of some of the best advice that was given to me back in the day was basically this very simple phrase, and it was follow that which makes your heart sing. You know, and just kind of like when you think about that, that's not usually like a phrase that we usually get told and stuff like that. You know, it's like follow what you're passionate about. Like, yeah, that's part of it and everything like that. But like follow that which makes your heart sing.
Exactamente. Like stop being half-assed. Like just go forefront or just don't do it at all.
Yeah. And again, that following what made your heart sing might be something that's like very much within your own solitude. Again, it may be something where you're creating art. It may be something where you're learning. Because I think when you follow what your heart sings and stuff, like that's literally like your soul compass kind of like helping lead the way. you know. And I think, again, that's kind of a big part of the spiritual journey, is that within our own heart we have this like internal navigation system. It's our intuition, our soul GPS, call it what you will. And so again, you know, another thing I'll just kind of say in terms of like advice for anybody on their journey, you know, spiritual or otherwise and everything like that, is just a reminder that you don't have to like the journey that you're on, it may feel like a big journey, but even though like you're trying to get like 50 steps ahead of yourself, you're only going to get there by taking one step at a time. And so literally just focus on taking that next step, that one next step. And that one next step, that wisdom will literally come from connecting with your heart. So if you can get good at connecting with your heart, that's where you're going to get good at just being able to like listen to, you know, where it is that you kind of like need to go within that next moment. And again, whatever choice you make will be meaningful. Like that's kind of the exciting thing of this reality. It's not like, oh, like I made a wrong choice. Whatever choice you make will be meaningful, even though sometimes the meaning may be a valuable lesson, so to speak. So try not to get too caught up. I know for a lot of people, even within their spiritual journey, just a journey of life, they can kind of get into this place of paralyzed. You know, they kind of get stuck. They're just like, I'm afraid to make a choice. But I think I would encourage you to just be reminded of the fact that like the universe has your back. And again, whatever choice you make will be meaningful, and just do your best to be able to perceive it from that perspective of like being a student and knowing that like there will be a lesson within any circumstance and everything like that. So all right, let's get close to wrapping this up, and then we'll finish it off with a little bit of a meditation. So for anybody else who wants to jump in, go ahead, and we'll pass it over to you. So Kris, CeeLo, Ashley, anybody else, Sarah and Erika, you guys kind of already added in your closing thoughts, but if there's anything else, let me know. Go ahead. Okay, just closing thoughts and gratitude then. Like I know we're almost at the end of the broadcast, so Kris, I'll pass it over to you. Yeah, go for it, Kris.
Yeah, so I mean, like I feel pretty complete like tonight. Like I definitely got out like some of the things that, you know, I wanted to share today, and you know, just you know, like just again, like, you know, expressing my gratitude, like, you know, for having this space. And I think that, like, you know, as more time goes on, it's like, you know, I'm reminded like of how beneficial and really like how impactful it really has been, like being a part of this group. And like I just can't stress that enough, like, though, honestly, like, you know, being not just being a part of this group, but like, you know, like really like the fact that, like, you know, when we start stepping into our power more, and when we like take that risk, and we like, you know, finally do step out of like our comfort zones, you know, and we really start to, you know, like, yeah, just step into our power, and like, you know, not caring so much about what anyone else is going to think, but, you know, just being who we are. And you know, without reservation, and, you know, without doubt. You know, it's like a lot of the times those doubts that we have and what we think other people are going to think, like it's all just fucking illusion, you know, like it's not true, you know, like a lot of there's so much support, you know, like, and I was sharing this in one of my most recent videos, you know, it's like and it reminds me of one of, like, you know, the Terrence McKenna quotes, like, you know, he says that, you know, it's like to dream the impossible dream, like, you know, to you know, like he talks about, like, you know, the idea that when we like make that commitment, you know, to you know, just kind of like living our like life purpose, you know, like nature will not, like, you know, grind us under, but it will lift us up. And when we look at the world around us and just how many people there are that are supporting this journey, that are on their own journeys themselves, like, you know, it's like the more that we step into our power, you know, it's like we just start attracting that. You know, that's like the law of attraction. But it's like, I feel like, you know, it's, we can think about the law of attraction though too, is just like attracting all these people that are like-minded, you know, who are like here to support us, that we don't necessarily see. And it's because we're not like seeing ourselves clearly. So when we can kind of see ourselves clearly and step out of that illusion and start like being more of all that we are, like, you know, it's like then the world can actually see us because we're showing ourselves, you know, we're showing up for ourselves. So like, you know, when we can actually really start showing up for ourselves, you know, then other people start showing up for us. And, you know, like sooner than we know it, you know, it's like there are the others, you know, it's like we're like you know, find the others, you know, it's like they're here when we start showing up for ourselves, they start showing up to us, you know. So it's so beautiful, you know, how like truly like we really do attract like so many of these beautiful connections, and so many new doors have been opening up for me personally within my life. And you know, it's like just even, you know, within these conversations, you know, it's like sometimes like, you know, like today especially, I was like feeling like, oh, I don't know if I really want to come on. Like it was just kind of like yeah, I wasn't necessarily feeling like super high vibe and high energy, but it's like, you know, just being a part of these, it's always such a stimulating conversation, and to hear everyone's like beautiful perspectives, it just brings me back to and reminds me of like how I love being able to share in these community spaces, because it's, you know, it's where I feel like I can really thrive, because I'm always making all these connections. So always brings me up and makes me super excited. Going back to the beginning of the broadcast, yeah. So just, you know, feeling such excitement and, you know, riding that wave of excitement together with all of you beautiful people, and so grateful with each and every single one of you.
Beautiful. Awesome. Yeah, man. We're not just riding it, we're surfing that wave. We are surfing that wave so good right now. And again, you know, like that's like it, we are at such an important and exciting time within our journey. And again, you know, literally as we kind of get close to finishing this broadcast, I just want to wish everybody like a happy solstice. You know, this is a time of celebration. This is a time of, again, you know, like personal and galactic and collective enlightenment, so to speak, you know, as the nights slowly become shorter and the days become longer, the light, where again, you know, this story that's kind of unfolding, I've kind of said this before, but within the bigger mythos that we're creating here within the team is this idea that, you know, like when the shadow looms, the light rises, so to speak. And that is what we are doing. Like, we are literally being called into action. We are being called into purpose. And in the same way, I think, again, you know, we kind of look back on the teachers of our time, and, you know, we look at people like I was going to say Bob Ross, Ram Dass. Bob Ross is pretty cool too. We look back at him. He was a spiritual teacher, 100%, right? Teaching us to be present in the moment and enjoy the little things. But we look back on all those little, you know, those teachers that we've seen through the ages and everything like that. And I think we're almost at a point where we're so in it that we don't actually realize like how much of a bigger role we're playing. And again, it's not like it's like this idea where we're expected to be like super famous and stuff like that. But each and every single one of us has the ability to be able to like plant those little seeds, to do the little things that make the big difference. And again, we're going to get to this point where each and every single day, more and more people are awakening, more and more people are stepping into their purpose. And I would say, as we get close to wrapping up this broadcast, now what is needed is for each and every single one of us to be incredibly responsible, with our own energies, and to be incredibly responsible with the energies that we surround ourselves with, that we invest ourselves with. Like, again, you know, like if you feel that there are people in your life who are like hurting you more than they are loving you, then you ultimately need to be able to make the choice, and to be able to sometimes make the hard choice, but to really be able to do the work where, like, again, you're kind of like filling your own cup, you're nurturing your own garden, because that is what's needed right now. Like, I understand that you care about all these people, and that's super, super important. But again, like right now, we need to be able to kind of like play the long game. And sometimes the long game means just kind of like saying no to one thing in order to be able to say yes to yourself. So I encourage everybody here to say yes to themselves, whatever that looks like, and the universe will understand. People aren't gonna be like, oh, you're a jerk, you're this, you're that. Like, it's okay if they say that, and maybe there's a soft way for you to be able to communicate your boundaries and your needs and everything like that right now. But again, you know, what we need to do is that we need to be able to take care of like our physical well-being, because from the balance of creating, from the place of creating physical balance, we create the opportunity to be able to kind of like expand more into like the spiritual capabilities that we have, the ability to show up for others, the ability to be able to tap into our dreams, to tap into our heart, to be able to bring forth this wisdom and to really, really, really embody it. So again, you know, I say for everybody here, the spiritual journey, it's not something where it's just like, man, like what's happening? Like, I've been watching spiritual videos on TikToks for a month now, but like, I'm not, like, my chakras aren't opened, and like my dreams, it's like, well, yeah, because that's not what's actually going to do it for you. It's not the watching of the videos. The videos are the finger pointing towards the moon. Don't get caught up with the finger. The moon is the objective, and the moon is you. The moon is the work. The moon is, again, you know, it is what you need to do. It is your personal transformation. It is you. Spirituality is a process of learning not just what you are, but also learning what you are not. the process of spirituality and ascension is a lot of times the process of not necessarily trying to like grab new things, but learning how to let go what's holding you down. And when you let go of what's holding you down, then you naturally begin to quote unquote ascend or rise up kind of like a balloon. So what's holding you down right now? And I invite you to be like really self-aware, really responsible. And again, that is the journey of spirituality. The spiritual journey is the awakening of consciousness. It is making the unconscious conscious. It is shining light on where there was once shadow. Because again, you can think of light literally as consciousness, awareness. And when there is a lack of light, there is shadow. And when there is shadow, that is usually where, again, kind of like the destructive, unhealthy habits naturally kind of grow from. But instead, we can shine light onto those habits. We can shine light onto those parts that are holding us back. And when we do that, we ultimately give ourselves the opportunity to choose to like how to heal it and how to feel it and how to release it. And when we do that, we're also making room for new things. And I think that's the most important thing, is to be able to understand that in letting go of that which no longer serves us, we are also making room to receive that which is here to be able to help us like level up. And that is our goal, is to keep leveling up, because we need everybody to be able to show up, everybody to be able to just be, like, I'm not saying you have to be like on your A game all the time. That's obviously not what the journey of spirituality is about, because I think it's all relative. But it is possible to live each and every single day with a aware mind and an open heart and a gentle spirit, and be gentle to yourself, be gentle to others, be gentle to the earth. And that's what will change things. Very simply put, this world will change when more and more of us begin to see ourselves in others. When we see ourselves in George Floyd, when we see ourselves in the animals, when we see ourselves in the environment, when we see ourselves in that which needs healing, when we see ourselves in others, then we will begin to really kind of shift into, this next stage of evolution. So let us, again, kind of like anchor in this new world, this new earth, but it's already here. It's already here, and it's within each side of our hearts. And so I remind each and every single one of you that you are an ambassador for that new world, for that new paradigm, for that new story that we are moving into. And it's not even new. It's literally something that's been building up, and the universe has our back. And again, I like the idea that the Mayan calendar, the Gregorian calendar, is like literally basically like, you guys probably saw articles about this, how like the December 21st 2012 date was actually like not including the variables of the missing time and stuff like that. So technically like this weekend is that date, which is kind of like very symbolic, where it's like, wow, that actually feels like it. Because if you look back then, a lot of people were just kind of more in this amnesia type state, sleepwalking state. But now, like, the world is waking up, and we need people like you to be able to help hold space and lead the way, simply by being able to lead from the place of your own heart. So again, I say all that I say simply just to be able to like feed you guys with inspiration, because building morale amongst each other and helping other people see the bigger story, the story that is one of inspiration and the one of empowerment and the one of purpose, is incredibly important. So thank you for being an echo of that story, and again, for doing the little things that make the big difference. And that's how the little things, the ripples create waves, and then we surf that wave, as we were talking about earlier. So anyways, passing the talking stick around, final closing thoughts, gratitude from anybody else here. Go ahead, just put your hand up. And if you guys have already like kind of like said your last stuff, that's totally fine. Whatever anybody else just wants to say, go ahead. Selomon, CeeLo, go right ahead, dude.
Hey, I kind of just wanted to piggyback on what you and Kris said. And, I really feel that we are our own gurus. I suggest everybody have an open heart and an open mind to what people say, but ultimately trust in your inner guidance and what feels right to you. And that's really, really important, because you don't want to get wrapped up in somebody else's belief system if it doesn't resonate with you.
Awesome. Well said, CeeLo. And any other, just before we wrap it up, any gratitude you want to share for the people tuned in, or anything else? Go for it.
Yeah, it's been really awesome being part of the chat and just seeing like everybody's reaction in the Zoom. It's been really freaking cool, and I appreciate you letting me be part of it.
Awesome, dude. And go ahead, plug your stuff real quick. Let people know where they can tune into you as well, because you do another.
Yeah, I'm part of the Bring Me to Life podcast, and it's on, all the podcasting platforms on YouTube and stuff, and it's Bring Me the number 2 Life.
Beautiful, awesome. And again, for anybody looking to connect further with CeeLo, the links is in the YouTube info, but we'll post it into the YouTube chat as well. So be sure to give it a follow. And dude, thank you again, man. It's been fun having you here. So me and CeeLo go back, man, back to like 2011, 2012 during the first apocalypse. Now we're in like the apocalypse 2.0 or something like that.
Yeah,
so
it's really happening now.
It really is, man. It really is. And even then, like, that was still it. And now it's just continuing from what was already starting then. So absolutely, man. Awesome, dude. Thank you again for being here, dude. Sweet. Wonderful. And again, just kind of going off, because I don't want to leave anybody with a little bit of ambiguity again, you know, with like the apocalypse and stuff like that, the Mayan calendar and everything like that. Again, you know, celebrate the fact that it's the apocalypse again. And for many of you who haven't really heard this, and I know some people haven't, the word apocalypse literally means like unveiling. It means like kind of like pulling back the illusions, and that's essentially what's happening, right? Like we're kind of like clearing away like the old stories, we're clearing away the bullshit, and with that we have the chance to kind of create a new story. Tabula rasa, clear the slate. What do we want to be able to make from this point? And I think that's a very powerful question to be able to sit with. You know, it's not like, oh, we're just making TikTok videos, we're just doing this. It's like, yo, no, like what are we really creating here? And we are creating a world that is like much more harmonious, much more heart-centered, and something that each and every single one of us will like gladly, like, you know, like bring our ancestors into, you know, so to speak, our children and our children's children, stuff like that. Like that's what we're doing it for, you know, like we're not just doing it for today, like we're standing for tomorrow today is the way how I think it. So like really thinking in the long term. And I mean, yeah, maybe we are just creating TikTok videos. Maybe it is just silly. Maybe it is just fun. I don't know. But anyways, let's get close to wrapping this up. And again, thank you so much, everyone, for leaving your comments down in the YouTube chat. If you guys have been having fun, please feel free to just drop an 1111 in the chat. Let us know. And for anybody else here, please feel free to leave your social media links in the YouTube chat. You can let us know your TikToks and your Instagram, and we'll be able to connect with each other further. And again, reminder, if you haven't yet, you can connect to our team chat, and the link for that is in the YouTube info as well. And we'll just go around the circle, any closing thoughts, and then we'll finish off with a little micro meditation. Anybody else really feel called to just like share some closing gratitude? Morphic, go right ahead.
I had a very boring day, and this was the only thing I was literally looking forward to, and I'm shook. This was ultimately, like, as Kris would say, this filled up my cup, and I could literally just, after this, just go outside and just enjoy my L, knowing that I have a chill as community that I could literally call my family. And that is the greatest feeling anyone or anything could ever give me. So thank you, Brendon, for creating this space and literally facilitating it for like 10 plus years. Like that's consistency. Like, holy shit, shift, sorry. But, you know, sorry, shift, my bad. But thank you. And thank you, everybody, for being part of it. Like, I appreciate every single one of you. Like, I love you all.
Awesome. Thank you, Morphic. Happy to be able to have you here as a part of our weird and wacky family. So our weird family of like superheroes and like kind of like oddballs and wizards and mages and witches.
Just to clear the air, I've also had like a weird relationship with the term hero. I don't really consider myself a hero, but
not a problem.
Just this once, I'll be like, I'm a little bit, maybe like 5%. I believe.
Okay, cool. It's yeah, you're nurturing that seed. You're a cosmic badass nonetheless. So yeah. All right, cool. Okay, just getting into the closing again, just kind of like final things, and again, just as Morphic was saying, you know, like, yes, have I been doing this project for over 10 years now, almost 11 years? Yes, I have. Is that something important? Yes, it is, because I want you guys to just acknowledge the fact that like that's something that I've been like so passionate about. But in a way, I want us to be able to kind of like see that as just kind of like something that we've all been like kind of like co-creating together, right? Like it's kind of like this shared journey. We're in this like shared, like it's like a kingdom or a spaceship that we're creating together. And again, I always remind each other that we are like captains amongst captains here within this kingdom, kings, amongst queens, princes and princesses. We are all equally divine, equally worthy. And so again, I just create this space to be able to call us all into our power. And again, kind of with what Kris was saying, literally the intention of these broadcasts is to like recharge our spiritual battery. So just by us being here, we're plugging in, we're connecting to our hearts, we're connecting to each other, it charges us up. And then from here, what do? We go out, we do the work, we do this, we take care of ourselves, we take care of others in the community, and then, hey, come back here again, charge ourselves up, and repeat the process. And that in itself is like a very powerful way to just continue to move things along in this perpetual cycle of evolution. So again, you know, thank you for 10 years, and like shout out to in 10 years. And I'll tell you what it will be like. It will be like advanced like dream technology with us in the astral realms, and like advance this and advance that, and we'll be like flying around in UFOs, and maybe we'll be doing it in other dimensions and stuff like that. I don't know. This is all just practice. This right now is just practice. So stand by. It'll happen. You'll see. Anyways, closing thoughts. Anybody else who wants to go ahead? Ashley, go for it. Yep.
I just wanted to first share my gratitude and thank everyone for all the perspectives and wisdom you've given me, and the space you've given me to share mine, and just this big pot share of love we got going on. And just as a final closing thought to anyone, no matter where you're on your spiritual journey, to echo everyone, be you, but also just remember to always have compassion for yourself, because it is going to be a spiral. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. You're going to feel sometimes you're the purest of lights, and sometimes you're going to feel like you're in the deepest, darkest shadows, but you are still love no matter what you're doing. And yeah, find practices to find grace within those within this duality of nature that we exist in. And yeah, thank you all.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you again, Ashley, for adding your voice, and for everybody here just adding their presence. And if you guys are in the YouTube chat, go ahead and make sure you post your links here, and that way you can connect with all the amazing creators here, which I encourage you to do so. And you can even be like, hey, I watched you in the podcast and stuff like that. So beautiful. All right. If everyone's kind of good, I think let's just move into our closing meditation, and then we'll wrap this up, and then we'll be on our way. So cool. Okay, let's do that now. All right, so just inviting everybody here, just make any subtle adjustments, keep lights on, off, whatever works for you. This is just gonna be a little quick meditation, kind of like standard protocol. We're just gonna imagine ourselves kind of doing like a little bit of a communal group hug farewell until next time. So just inviting everybody here. Put your hands wherever you're comfortable. You can put them on your chest if you want. And as you listen to my voice, just inviting you to breathe. Deep, gentle inhales. Nice, soft, gentle exhales. Continue, deep, gentle inhale. And soft, gentle exhale. And as you continue to breathe, just imagine all of us in this beautiful circle, looking around again at these faces. And within your heart, I really want you to feel deep within your heart this like knowing, this deep knowing that it's gonna be okay. Like I really want you to be able to tell yourself that, or to just kind of hear it within your heart, or to just hear it within my voice, almost to the point that even for some of you, like it could almost kind of like bring up a swell of emotion. Like you may even feel yourself like almost crying. But I literally just want to be able you to be able to hear the words, it's gonna be okay. And yet within that, to know that the okayness of that is not simply something of like, oh, that means we get to sit back and watch it all happen. The okayness of it is in knowing that you are part of the story, and that you are supported in helping lead all of us towards that okayness, so to speak. You are strong enough. You are capable. You are learning. You have this power. You have this will. You are this spirit. You are this soul. You are this ambassador of love, this light guardian here to be able to stand in your power, to stand in your courage, and to be able to be your mirror for others to see the same power within themselves. Dreamers awakening within the dream. As we look around this circle, we just see everyone take a moment here to really just kind of like send them so much love, so much gratitude, seeing familiar faces, new faces, all the people in the chat, people listening to this in the future, even just imagining in this moment, even just kind of like feeling our presence with our ancestors here within this circle, like literally right now. Can you guys imagine that? Literally right now, like, yeah, we know we're here talking, but what does it feel like to literally just kind of reflect on in that knowing that like literally our ancestors, our higher dimensional aspects of ourselves, our guides, whatever you want to think of it as, like they're literally like watching this right now and they're just like, yes, go team, yes. This is their story too, because as they support us, they too are affected by this bigger shift. So feel that love, feel that support through dimensions, through time. Let it nurture something deep within your heart, literally deep within the core of your being. Let it activate something, let it ignite something. And from here, just imagining everybody kind of like gently standing up within your imagination and slowly coming together. And just imagine gathering in this beautiful group hug and even just kind of like feeling the presence of our ancestors, inviting in these additional members of the bigger team. And in this moment, just add like a little bit of a gentle sway to your body. So literally just gently sway, kind of like your shoulders from left to right, front to back, in the same way they would sway literally if we were all standing there hugging each other, and squeeze into that hug a little bit, squeeze into, you can even hug yourself a little bit if you want. And in this moment, you can literally feel this sway comes as a result of us like kind of like synchronizing as like a single organism. The illusion of separation just kind of dissolves in this moment, and we literally just become like one rhythm, one breath. And so in this moment, I want you to really just feel this like deep, nurturing sense of love. I want you to feel what can often only be described as a feeling of home. And so just stay here for the next few moments and just be in your own silence. And as you are here, I want you to say something to the team, to the tribe, to all the people who are part of this bigger story. So go ahead, allow yourself to just be in this moment. I'll stop talking and just breathe here. What do you have to say? And even if it's just silence, and just be in the feeling, go right ahead. And as you're in this space, I want you to be able to hear a message, not just from the physical team, but literally from the universe, from the bigger us. What does it say to you in this moment? A message of inspiration, a message of love. Beautiful. As you gently breathe here, go ahead and even just physically give yourself a bit of a hug and just kind of like squeeze real tight. Just feel this connection. Let it nurture your heart. And gently kind of like release your arms and imagine the hug just gently kind of releasing. And as we are in this moment, slowly we will begin to bring awareness back to our physical body, back to this physical space around us. And when you are ready, slowly wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and gently open your eyes and return your awareness to the space here and now. Beautiful. Awesome. Yeah. Shout out to all the cosmic psychedelic superheroes for being a part of this team, for being a part of this story. Sending you guys so much love. So Awesome. So with that said, team, we're going to wrap this up. But before we do that, I just want to be able to, we'll just do a quick notes and recap. So again, for those of you who are sticking around, join in with our team meditations Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. EST. Friday is like our special edition. So if you're watching this Thursday live, make sure you're subscribed. Click the notifications. You can tune in for our team meditations Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. EST. Again, make sure you connect to our team chat if you want to connect further. If you want to join on air for future broadcasts, be sure to check out more about becoming a leading member. Check the show notes on YouTube at the bottom. Find the links for all the creators who are on this broadcast and make sure you connect with them. Tell them you found them through the broadcast. And just thank you so much, everyone, for just being here and just continue to carry this momentum, carry this vibration with you as you continue to go out and to live your own hero's journey, whatever it may be for you. So for everybody here, I just want to be able to invite all the creators to gently unmute their microphones, and let's send another wave of love to all the amazing people who are part of this broadcast. So for everybody here, go ahead, gently unmute your microphones, make some noise, and send some love.
Love.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you again, everyone, so much for being here. My name's been Mystic Spider-Man, Skull Babylon, all that stuff. To all the Light Guardians out there, thank you for being all you are and doing all you do. Until next time, keep it shifty, and we will see you in the future. Good night, everyone. Bye. Say goodbye, everyone. We love you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Special thank you to Danny Leonardo, whose music is featured at the beginning and end of this podcast. Be sure to check out more of Danny's work in the YouTube info below. Thank you, Danny.